Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/27. Selection varies by location. While supplies last.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
He steps to the mic with a boom, ping, ping. Wisdom sharper than a beast's fierce sting. Words like fireflies that light the night. He turns the dark into blazing bright. Boom, ping, ping, the truth takes wing. Milwaukee's voice, let the city sing. Boom, ping, ping, hear the freedom ring. Sherwin's the king, all the airwaves king. Shake the ground, unveils the truth where lies abound. Politics, justice, social streams. He molds the chaos into dreams. No silence here, just the sound of change. Boom, ping, ping, rearrange. Boom, ping, ping, the truth takes wing. Milwaukee's voice, let the city sing. Boom, ping, ping, hear the freedom ring. Sherwin's the king, all the airwaves king. Through the static, through the noise, he amplifies the people's voice. Boom, ping, ping, like a heartbeat's call. He's got the wisdom to break down walls. Yeah. Da, 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 da.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. Today is Thursday, March 26th, 2026. Today is going to be hopefully an interesting show, a productive program. But I'm going to try and combine and connect some things that you would not necessarily think are collaborative. In these very unusual days and times that we are living in, something clearly is wrong. Something is very much so off. And I know that people feel it. And it isn't just the politics. That plays a role. I think that's a symptom of something greater that is amiss in our society. And I am going to do some comparisons right now as opposed to some decades ago, a generation ago, because those of us that were around in the past, back in the 20th century, we really feel the contrast of what is happening right now compared to then. Or maybe our connectedness and the internet has just elucidated a lot of things that maybe were in the shadows in previous decades and previous generations. But I know that we're all feeling something, and it's really hard to explain and to articulate it. And what we are feeling, it's not necessarily a positive thing. So I look at a variety of different social indicators, and I track how they move, and then I personally try to deliver that information to you all of how, racial diversity is impacting things like employment, and we look at home ownership, and we look at wages and salaries, and we look at things like gender differences, and there's motion in all of those different categories, and I try and assign some kind of detail or some kind of explanation to why we see the motion that we do. And sometimes, yes, it is the person that's in the White House. Sometimes it is the makeup of Congress. Sometimes it is the priorities of a nation. You know, for the last 20 plus years, we were in a foreign war in the Middle East, too, in fact. Got out of that one, got into another one. And so when we have things like that, this is just one example. It changes the priorities of the nation where we have to, at least for a period of time, shift away from the desires and the needs of the people, and we have to feed our war machine. Even though we may not hear about the war every single day, and if you choose not to follow the news, you may not know anything of it, but it does shift priorities and funding priorities because we still see things that are happening in our local communities. We still see a school district that leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to student outcomes. We still see high unemployment. We still see a lot of boarded up vacant houses, and we want those things remedied and fixed. And you guys are seeing the potholes, a lot of potholes. And so those are the things in which we are intensely focused on, but for some reason, those things are not getting addressed. So I'm going to try and combine a bunch of things that are just kind of floating out there in the ether and try and give some explanation to what people are thinking and feeling. I want to start with this. Had a conversation with a very good friend of mine. This is, for all intents and purposes, an exceptionally accomplished professional. Tremendous amount of education. I know education does not always correlate to someone's success, but if you have an education that suits your profession or your vocation and you have been able to excel in that profession or that vocation because of your education, then that's where your very expensive education begins to bear fruit. And this individual is a veritable tree of apples and pears and plums, very, very smart, very accomplished, published even, but they cannot find a job for the life of them, which is perplexing to me. Because here I am thinking that the best people, the most qualified people, the people that have many, many years, if not decades of experience, plus education and accomplishment, would get swooped up right away. In fact, I would think that they would have more job offers than they could even handle, potentially. Or that gives them options, right? If you have a whole bunch of people competing for you because you're really good, you have a name for yourself, you got a great education, and your education has served you both practically and professionally, isn't this what an employer looks for? So one of the things that is happening right now is this weird thing with unemployment. The number of people that are looking for jobs is going up. I think one of our YouTube polls a couple of weeks ago, I asked you what your employment status was, and the vast majority of the people that cared to respond to our YouTube poll that day, the vast majority of people were employed at least part-time. Most full-time, but part-time and full-time was probably like 75 or 80% of the respondents. But there's a growing number of people who are completely and totally out of work, and they are looking for jobs. And these are folks that have, for all intents and purposes, a great resume. They should get swooped up. And they're looking in their field. That's the thing. This is what perplexes me about this individual. They're looking in a field that they have worked in their entire adult professional life. And then you have to wonder, is there some discrimination going on? Is it gender discrimination? Is it age discrimination? Could be discrimination based on your geographic location, because you know your employer has a lot of information about you. There's demographic information that one can deduct just from your resume. And so I asked this individual who's having a real hard time trying to find work, and they asked me, but the work that I am familiar with is more political and campaign related in nature. And let's be honest, nobody wants to do that work anymore. Working in politics now, as someone who has worked in it in previous lifetimes, I wouldn't recommend it. It's too tough. It's too hard to represent people. There's no common sense anymore. There are things and policies and proposals and ideas that work for everybody. Like when you raise wages, it works for everybody. When you reduce the cost and the burden of healthcare, it helps everybody. But we can't even agree on that. And so it's real difficult for me to direct someone into a line of work where common sense is incredibly uncommon. So I wish I could help my friend, but I'm unable to. Well, for a variety of reasons. They also don't have political experience, and now is not the time to start. Unless you have a real thick skin and you're in your early 20s, I would not suggest anyone going to working in politics now. It's just not the right time. So there's a website. There's an app associated with it too. I post on this app at least once a day, not providing, articles or thoughts. A lot of folks use social media to just share their stream of consciousness, which I always find fascinating. I try not to use social media for my stream of consciousness. Let me give you an example of stream of consciousness. Good morning, Facebookies. I had a good night's sleep. I'm hungry. Think I'll have breakfast. Gonna make me some coffee. And it's just whatever it is that they're doing or thinking at the time, they just post it. That's dumb. I just don't do that. No shade to people that post their streams of consciousness. It's just not for sure when you see. But this particular website has been around for a very long time. It's got some utility, I guess. There's also an app associated with this particular website that's been around for a very long time. It's called LinkedIn. You guys familiar with the LinkedIn? I do post the YouTube link to this show on LinkedIn because I know there's a large number of professionals who are very tied to LinkedIn. They are either, curious, or they are employers. We're going to talk about employers that post on LinkedIn because a bunch of them are lying, and I want to clear that up. And then there's job seekers because a lot of times jobs will be posted on LinkedIn. And some of you have noticed something on LinkedIn. A lot of jobs are open. You'll even see, here's a crazy one I want you to watch out for. Your job where you currently work might have a job posting on LinkedIn for your job, and you didn't know your employer was even hiring for your job. Don't panic. Sometimes employers will post positions on LinkedIn to just get a deeper pool of talent for that position, even though it's filled. So they will be farming and looking for your replacement, but that doesn't mean that your job is in immediate jeopardy. But if you're a very talented person and if you were very sought after, especially in a field where talent is rare, you may go find another job and your employer needs to make sure they've got individuals that can come in and fill your position if you decide that you want to leave. But there's another phenomenon that's going on with LinkedIn. And I'm going to connect employment and unemployment with this overall just sentiment of what is happening in the world right now. And there's also a political component to it as well. I have a detailed breakdown of how not only how the Democrats and the Republicans are different, but they are going in such opposite directions at warp speed that I'm not sure if this bodes well for the future of bipartisanship. We're in a place now where Republicans are so racially and almost socially isolated from the rest of the nation and the direction that the nation is moving in. This country is getting more diverse. Republicans are anti that kind of diversity, and I think it's contributing to this difficult to pin down just air of pessimism that exists right now in the United States. And I'm going to do my level best to try and connect all of these things and hopefully come to some kind of resolution. So I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I'm going to talk about this thing called ghost jobs. And I want to provide this information so that the people who are currently looking for work have an explanation for their frustration. Because a bunch of y'all are applying and applying like crazy. You even can use AI clients to apply for jobs in your field and where you have experience on your behalf. And people are using these AI clients. They're applying for 75, 80, 90, 100 jobs and not even getting any damn callbacks. It isn't you. It's a part of this thing that's going on, and we're going to talk about that thing on today's program. And today we're going to certainly go for a ride. If you haven't done so already, go to youtube.com or open up your YouTube app from your smartphone or other mobile device. Search 1017 The Truth and hit subscribe. You'll be able to view the live stream of this program and also participate in the YouTube chat. Also, you'll be able to vote in today's poll. It's just some demographic information. I just want to know who you are. Are you a black person? Are you a white? Are you a Latino or Hispanic? I think we said Latino, correct? Said Latino. Or are you an Asian? I wanted to have a category of other, but YouTube only gives us those 4. So you better pick one. And that's pretty much everybody, right? Doesn't that encompass everybody? I know you others are trying to get fancy. Just like if I asked a gender question, I would just probably put male or female. I wouldn't put an other, but whatever. So yeah, if you get an opportunity to vote in our YouTube poll, I just want to see the demographic information of who. It may not be a whole snapshot of who listens and participates in this program writ large, but the people who choose to answer and those that are viewing the program on YouTube. I'm curious demographically who you are. You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
In 1987, the Bucks took on the world and changed basketball forever.
At stake, basketball supremacy in the United States.
Bucks versus the World, narrated by Charlie Behrens, is the new season of Behind the Bucks podcast, presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. It's the untold story of the 1987 McDonald's Open, when the Bucks became the first NBA team to face the Soviet Union. Listen now on Bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and wherever you get podcasts.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Roughly 18 to 22%, or at least this article says 18 to 22%. I've seen details as high as 27% of the jobs that are posted on LinkedIn aren't even real jobs. Maybe the job exists, but the employer is not hiring for it. They just want to collect demographic information. They want your information. They want to collect information about salary requirements and salary expectations. They also want to see, and I think it's deceptive. Now, it's not illegal. Is this something that Congress should look into? Yes, because it's wasting people's time. So the world is run on data. You ever wonder why Facebook is free? I wonder at what price point, if Facebook charged you monthly, I'll use that as an example. Instagram would probably be a better example. I'm not really crazy about Instagram. Instagram is just a burden for me. It's just like one of those things you got to do. Like exercise. You got to exercise. You may not want to, but you just got to post on the Instagram. I wonder what price point where people say, you know what? I don't care to share my stream of consciousness, nor do I want to see pictures of what people are eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because there's a whole bunch of that. I remember a time where you took pictures and you had to send the pictures or the film to a stranger. The stranger would then develop your pictures for you. They would look at your pictures before you, and they go through your pictures. And don't let someone steal your camera, and then they take a bunch of pictures that you don't know about. All you know is how many pictures you have left on that roll of film. And then you would take the film out, and you would give it to a stranger, and you wouldn't see your pictures for several days, and then someone charged you money for pictures that you took. That is insane. Just the thought about that. Imagine if you took a bunch of pictures with your cell phone camera, and I know a lot of you do, and you couldn't see it right away. You had to give your phone to somebody else for about 3 or 4 days and then pay $15, $19, or $21 to get your phone back so you can see the pictures that you took. Xavier has an old school camera, but you're a bit of an anomaly because you work in what I'm going to call the visual arts. But it used to be, even that's a digital camera. That's not a film camera, is it?
That's a film camera.
Oh, it is.
Millimeter.
Look at that. It looks very digital. I just imagine they probably are upgraded and updated for the modern era.
It's one of the top of the line old school cameras.
Oh, look at you. All right. That's very rare. I probably could survey 1,000 people here at the 3rd Street Market Hall. Most of them wouldn't even know what a 35 millimeter camera is, especially if they're under the age of 30. But it's rare. But back in the day, we didn't, especially if you had a Polaroid, you wouldn't waste film taking pictures of your food. You took pictures of the very Important stuff, didn't you? Nobody would take their Polaroid and turn it around and take a selfie. Oh, I don't like that selfie. Let me take another Polaroid. No, that's terrible. But Facebook allows us to do that. All social media allows us to just immediately take a photograph, take a video. You might be at a concert. This always confuses me. People be at a damn concert, and instead of enjoying the moment and being there in the moment and watching the artist and singing along with the songs, people have their damn phones up and they're recording the entire show. When are you going to watch that again? We are forsaking the moment and the experience for the recording of it, because who sits around and says, oh, I went to a concert 2 years ago. Let me push play and watch the whole thing again, which never compares to the experience of actually being there. And I feel that in this modern era, we are missing the moment because we want to make sure that we photograph it and share it with people. And social media allows us to do that. But I wonder if people would actually pay. But the reason why Facebook and Instagram and whatever else and the Snapchats and the X's are all free is because our data is worth trillions and trillions of dollars, not just to those social media companies, but to the advertisers, other businesses, etc. Well, your data is also very important to employers, and the more information they can collect on job seekers, I think the more ways they can covertly discriminate. If how a job description is written, and it may not even be a real job, because here's the thing, if somebody in HR, whoever works at your company, creates a position in that company, you don't necessarily know, especially if the company is large and if it's multinational, it's in a whole bunch of different states, they can just manufacture a position. Oh, special assistant to the chief of operations in the production management field, virtual and in office in Cincinnati, Ohio. You don't know if that's an actual real position or not. But what the employer can do is they can say, okay, let's create a position. Let's see if we write the position this way, the description this way, who applies for it? And if they see that like a large number of Asian people apply for this job, or a large number of Latinos and Hispanics are applying for this job, or lo and behold and forbidden, the African Americans are applying for this job, they may say, maybe we should write it differently. Let's change the education requirements, or maybe we curtail some of the specifics to see if we can get a different demographic to apply for this job. And then once they get their ideal, because companies have a culture, they will tell you that they don't, they are lying. And some companies believe that their success and their profitability is based on the culture of the people. And you know when I say culture, you know what I mean, right? And so they may use these ghost job postings on LinkedIn to word positions in a way that only certain people apply, or less of other groups apply, that may negatively impact the culture. Measurable prevalence and multiple independent estimates, roughly 18 to 22% of job postings on LinkedIn may be ghost jobs, never intended to be filled or permanently inactive. Other analyses estimate 25 to 33% of postings fall into this category. 25% of LinkedIn postings may be ghost jobs. Some data sets estimated to be roughly 27.4%. So you got to wonder, because you're wasting your time. Imagine if you're applying for 100 jobs, which is not uncommon if somebody is desperately looking for work, and 30 of the 100 don't even exist. And then you have another 25 or 30 where the company is announcing an open position. I hate when they do this, but I'm trying to give some explanation to why a lot of you are applying for jobs and you're not getting any hits, because it didn't used to be like this. It used to be straightforward and honest. You'd see a job opening, you'd apply for it, you can upload your resume or your CV, and then maybe you get a call back, maybe you get an interview. Now, it might be hundreds of jobs, certainly dozens of jobs where you might be applying, and it might even be companies in which you know somebody, and you're familiar with the work, and you have the experience, the expertise, and the resume, and just not getting a call back. Sometimes jobs will be posted from a company that already has an internal candidate in mind, but they want to appear fair, so they're going to make open position announcement. They're going to post it in all sorts of different websites. And Indeed, is Indeed a career website? I think it is. Glassdoor might be another one. Whole bunch of them. But they already have their internal candidate in mind. But they're wasting the time of all of those desperate job seekers. But they're going to keep your information. They're going to have your resume. They're going to have your demographic information, all those details, your phone number, all of those things, and they'll keep it on file. Employer behavior surveys, up to 40% of companies admit to posting fake jobs. Some surveys claim a large majority of HR professionals say they do it at least occasionally. Why companies do this? Evidence strongly suggests that this behavior is often strategic and structural. Common documented reasons why employers are posting fake jobs. LinkedIn is the site that I'm targeting because they are, I think, one of the largest job networking websites or apps or whatever you call them. One reason is the talent pipeline build. They call these just-in-case candidates. That's like the example I gave earlier. If there's a particular job where individuals are rare, it takes a real specific skill set, and if that particular job or that skill set is in high demand, they may not keep that employee very long because they are in high demand. So LinkedIn may receive job postings from an employer that wants to make sure that if this talented person leaves, we can find somebody else right away to replace them. Roles are already filled internally, but legally required to be posted. That's the one that I hate. If you already know who you're going to promote, who's going to get the job because you've already talked to them, but then you put a job posting up anyway, that's so deceptive because people that are going through the open positions think that that's a legitimate job. Budget uncertainty or hiring freezes, even though the position may still look like it is active, that company's budget has been frozen, and they can't afford to pay somebody for the position anyway, yet they still have it listed. Some companies want to signal growth to investors or competitors. Look at how many people we're hiring. You should invest in our company because we're growing and we're growing fast. It could be 50 positions that don't even exist, but a company can say, oh, look how many people we're hiring. We're growing and growing fast. No, you're not. You're lying. The next one is collecting market data, salary expectations, and skill availability. And lastly, keeping overworked employees reassured that help is coming. That's wild. Productivity has gone up because companies have downsized dramatically. Really, since COVID, I don't think that we have returned to pre-COVID levels of employment and productivity. And a lot of people have just left the workforce. But there are several people at every job that are way overworked. They're doing 2 and 3 and 4 people's jobs. So the employer will say, no, we're going to hire you an assistant. We have the open position for your assistant because they know who's being overworked and who's about to get burnt out. And so they'll tell that burnt out employee, they'll give them a little bit of hope, a glimmer of hope, and say, no, we're going to hire an assistant for you. And then the company might say, look, you can go look at the open position announcement for your assistant right now. We have it live on LinkedIn. But then the employer has no intention of ever hiring an assistant for that individual. Platform dynamics, why LinkedIn always gets singled out. LinkedIn is often mentioned because it is one of the largest global job platforms, so scale amplifies this issue of ghost jobs. Job postings are easy and low cost to maintain, so outdated roles still persist. An employer can post a job on LinkedIn, fill it, and then just never take the posting down, which is deceptive to people who are desperately looking for work. Algorithms reward activity and visibility, not necessarily the hiring outcomes, and companies frequently cross-post automatically from internal systems. Additionally, a large share of companies that admit to ghost posting, which is basically lying, say they use LinkedIn as a primary distribution channel to post jobs they are never going to hire an individual for. I'm going to take a break, come back. I have some real fascinating information, or at least I think it's fascinating, on, America's about to turn 250 on July the 4th. This is the 250th anniversary of the country. And you're going to start seeing all of this stuff as the summer approaches, the big 4th of July celebrations, because apparently America only turns 250 one time. So I've got some information on how the nation has not only changed in the last 250 years, as you would imagine, but really in the last 50. And we're going to bring into focus some of the demographic changes and social changes that have transpired in the last 50 years, but also try and put some explanation on just this weird time that we find ourselves in. And it's not just political. It's social. It's economic. I got a story here. The country is in so much debt that even if you gave the United States $50 trillion, we still would be underwater. It's so bad. But there's just something that is happening. Something is in the air. Something is in the water. And on this ride today, I'm going to try and apply as much causality as I can to this thing that is happening that it's hard to describe. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Tacos and Tequila Festival, Saturday, May 30th at Franklin Field, featuring live performances by Shaggy, Rick Ross, Genuine, Soulja Boy, Frankie J, Mims, and more. There will be craft margaritas, Milwaukee's best taco vendors, authentic lucha libre wrestling, an exotic car showcase, a Chihuahua beauty pageant, art installations, and so much more. Tacos and Tequila Festival, Saturday, May 30th. Get your tickets at tacoandtequilafestival.com.
People don't realize that glaucoma is one of the leading causes of blindness.
Because there are often no early symptoms, nearly half of those with glaucoma may not even know they have it until vision loss has occurred.
I was diagnosed with normal tension glaucoma in July of 2020. And what we found out at that point was I had already lost 40% of my sight. And you think it only affects people that are, 75 or older, retired, grandparents, and that's not the reality of it.
I didn't think at all glaucoma was going to affect me because I didn't know of anyone that had glaucoma, no one in my family. When you have glaucoma, you can't get back that sight that you lost. And so early detection and treatment is vitally, vitally important.
Don't miss life's most beautiful moments. Schedule an eye exam today.
National Glaucoma Research, a Bright Focus Foundation program, offers free resources and tips for healthy vision.
Learn how to protect your sight at stopglaucoma.org.
Hey there, Jane Lynch here. You want to hear something funny? Too bad. You want to hear something uplifting that will inspire you? Good. Because today, I want to talk to you about Direct Relief, a humanitarian organization that does seriously good work when it counts. Fires, hurricanes, earthquakes. When disaster strikes, Direct Relief immediately shows up with medicines, medical supplies, and everything doctors and nurses need to save lives. Let's ship her out! Every day across the United States and around the world, they're making an enormous difference. If someone needs help, Direct Relief helps. No politics, no red tape. Hey, what you doing over there?
Oh, I'm packing insulin for kids with diabetes.
See, every box here is literally a lifeline for someone in critical need. So check them out at directrelief.org and donate if you can. You might just bring a smile to someone's face.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
On previous programs, I have remarked on the impact of the curtailing, if not outright, elimination and deterioration of DEI programs and what this administration considers DEI, because some of you think it's those explicit programs that may exist, like diversity trainers. Like you'll have a person come in, maybe your company will contract with somebody and have them come in and talk about sexual assault in the workplace or how to get along in a workplace where there are many different races and cultures. Like that's the explicit DEI stuff. Sometimes when it comes to the federal government, DEI stuff are programs and grants that are designed to mitigate problems when it comes to race. So let's say you have a city that has underfunded the African American community's infrastructure. That could be noticed by a member of Congress. A member of Congress says, well, we need additional dollars to remove the lead pipes from the black neighborhoods and the poor neighborhoods in Milwaukee. Trump would consider that DEI. Any place and space where it's been identified that a person of color, a black person, Latino person, poor person has been harmed, and if there has been remedy sought through federal policy, Trump would consider that DEI. Cancer research. This is the best example I can give. African Americans benefited greatly, including a longer life expectancy when we get cancer because of the amount of money that the federal government used to invest in cancer research. Trump thinks that that's DEI because if money spent is helping black people, now keep in mind, black people had higher rates of cancer, particular types of cancer. When and if we ever went and got medical treatment, our cancer was much more advanced. But as the federal government invested more money in cancer research, our outcomes became better. There was more early detection and treatments were much more effective. Trump was like, no, we got to get rid of the amount of money the federal government is spending on cancer research because blacks are living longer. So the expanded definition of DEI under this president needs to be looked at and examined because it's not always explicit, it is sometimes implicit. It also has had an effect on the number of people employed in the federal government. African Americans have always punched above their weight when it comes to federal employment because the federal government was the first institution to take affirmative action to make sure that people who are in fact paying federal income taxes have an opportunity to work for the federal government. In fact, affirmative action was created by John Kennedy on March 9th, 1961, because he thought it was unfair that the federal government was being explicitly racist and in who it would hire at all these different federal agencies. Now, we know that Donald Trump has eliminated a lot of the places and spaces in the federal government where he does have purview in the executive branch of the federal government, has eliminated a lot of positions that showed African Americans punching above their weight. So there were some, like black women were like 20% at one point in time of the federal workforce, but are only like 6, maybe 7% of the overall population in the country. And so, of course, that looks like a DEI program if you have African Americans overrepresented. So we have seen the decrease in the number of African American women in particular that were working for the federal government. But it's now starting to bleed into the private sector. So if you are an accomplished, educated African American, great resume, great work history, all of the things, and you find yourself constantly being rejected or not getting any callbacks or not getting any interviews. So the first thing we looked at was LinkedIn. So about a third or so of the jobs you were applying for on there, not even real. Now, here's the hard part. I can't tell you to stop applying because I don't know which of those jobs are real or not. And I don't want people to lose all faith. Just know that this is something that is going on. LinkedIn has a number of employers that are admitting, like 40% of the employers on LinkedIn have admitted at one point in time that they have posted a job that is not open, that doesn't exist, because they want to either collect resumes, they want to deepen their talent pool, they want to threaten current employees, or they just want demographic information about who's applying, and also salary expectations. So if they list a job that should be paying, let's say, $120,000 a year, and they're only offering 80, let's say 80 to 95. But this job, whatever it is, maybe it's an IT job, typically pay is about $120,000. I could understand if an employer creates a job, an IT job that typically pays $120,000, but then they list the job at paying between 80 and 95. How many people would they actually get? Now think about this for a second. Think about this from the employer standpoint. They don't want to pay somebody $120,000 if they don't have to. But that is what the average for this is a fictional position. If it were real, this IT position would pay $120,000. That is the national standard, whether it be Florida, New York, Wisconsin, Michigan, California, Washington State, whatever. This job pays $120,000. But if this employer announces this job, which isn't real, and they say the salary is between 80 and 95, what if they get an overwhelming number of applicants that are applying for a job, and they all have the resumes for it, all the people that are applying are suitable candidates, But you have hundreds or 1,000 people applying for a $120,000 job that at this particular company is paying between $80 and $95. You know what that employer is going to do? They may get rid of their current employee that they're paying $120,000 to hire one of these folks willing to work for $80. I just want you to be mindful of these deceptive tricks that employers are using to get salary information based upon either real or fictional job positions. I want to give you this snapshot as well, because whenever you have a shrinking job market or a job market that is, let's just say it's inconsistent, I really don't know what the economy is doing. I know that parts of the stock market are exceptionally schizophrenic when it comes to defense contractors and drone makers and artificial intelligence, which has led most of the stock market gains in the last probably 3 or 4 years. But we're not really creating any jobs. So we had the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, gave a press conference last week and said essentially since Donald Trump has been elected president, there's been zero net job gains. So the economy is doing something. It's stalling, or we're not really sure what it is. But whenever you have an economy that is inconsistent or stalling or maybe heading toward recession, you have to look at African-American employment and unemployment rates. And I look at it because when black unemployment is higher, crime tends to tick up in the black community. So it's one of those social indicators that it moves. And when it moves, it tells a story. Because the more of us that are on benefits and the more of us that are unemployed, now you're going to get over policing. You're going to get a whole bunch of other intended and unintended consequences. So in 2024, so Joe Biden was still president in 2024. Average African-American unemployment was 6%. And these are numbers that I watch because if our employment levels go up or unemployment levels go up, then we know that something else negative is probably coming. All right, 2025. Donald Trump got inaugurated January 20th, 2025. Average African-American unemployment went up to 6.9%, Trump's first year in office. In fact, it peaked at 8.2%. I just want you guys to be mindful of this. From the last year of Joe Biden's presidency through the first year of Donald Trump's, black unemployment went up 2.2% in a year. That is probably millions, hundreds of millions of income that is lost. That also could mean hundreds of thousands or millions more people that are applying for benefits because now they qualify for them. At the same time, you may have a government shutdown that, what did we see last year? A pause in SNAP benefits. That's never a good set of social indicators when black unemployment is going up for whatever reason. I think it's the DEI initiatives that now private sector jobs are feeling comfortable shedding their workforce of African Americans. Because here's the thing that I talked about on a previous show. Some companies don't want to hire black people because they know that some of their employees are racist. And they don't want to hire black people because the black people might sue. And so instead of getting rid of the racist employee, which I think is the best idea, the company might justify keeping a racist employee saying, well, they've been here for so long. They know the culture so good. They perform so well. The excuses that companies will give to keep a bad employee defy comprehension, especially if they're loyal. Terrible at their jobs even, but boy, oh boy, do they support the mission. A company will go to extraordinary lengths to keep that person instead of hiring somebody who could actually be better and more productive and build a team atmosphere. But I suppose that's wishful thinking. So hiring of African Americans has been reduced because if companies know that they have racial bias in their ranks, and they always know. They know. The white CEO oftentimes knows which of his or her employees don't like black people. Because they talk, all right? And so what the company will do is, well, maybe we shouldn't hire any black people because if we hire black people, boy, oh boy, are they going to feel hated. 2024 African-American unemployment was 6%. 2025, it went up to 6.9%. Late 2025, black unemployment peaked at 8.2%. Early 2026, it is settled at 7.7%. So since Joe Biden left office, this is only Trump's first year. Well, now we're in his second year. African-American unemployment is up basically 20%. The article says this is a clear upward trend, while overall U.S. unemployment only rose modestly. So we are becoming more, as black people, more unemployed than everybody else. And so what I'm trying to do with today's show is try and pinpoint and give some kind of explanation as to why things are feeling the way they are. Because it's sometimes hard to explain and hard to articulate. And we can't just blame Trump. He's a symptom of this overall thing that is going on. But when I get to where the political parties split on their ideas at the United States turning 250, there are some dramatic splits between political parties. Obviously, we know what some of them are. A lot of them are ideology and policy. But there are other splits that exist in the two political parties that I think is adding to the misery index that some people are feeling. And basically, I'll preview it by saying this. Once I provide the details and the rest of the information I have for you today, you're going to know without a shadow of a doubt that if you're a black Republican now, it's like being an anti-Semitic Jew, right? There's a political party that exists to make sure that we don't have options, opportunities, employment, benefits, home ownership, and I'm going to get to the details of it. Don't worry, you'll be well versed by the time the show is over. That's why you got to keep listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com.
Truth Nation, it's your boy Tory Lowe, and I need to let you know the award-winning Tory Lowe Show can now be streamed live on YouTube. How? Every day from 1 to 4. Truth Nation, I am now bringing all the smoke on YouTube every single weekday. Hey, how? I need you to go to YouTube right now and subscribe to 101.7 The Truth and check out the award-winning Tory Lowe Show live every afternoon. Milwaukee Black Talk is now streaming live on YouTube. Now that's powerful.
Hi, this is Sherwin Hughes from 101.7 The Truth, and I want to talk to you about something bigger than just buying a house. I'm talking about building a legacy. Owning a home isn't just about four walls and a roof. It's about giving your kids a place where memories are made, where birthdays are celebrated, and where they always belong. It's about planting roots, knowing your neighbors, waving from the porch, and being a part of a community that feels like family. If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to work with you. An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan, a budget, and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and many are paying less than they were paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your families tomorrow. Start your journey at axehousing.org. That is ACTShousing.org. Your legacy begins at home.
At Versity on King, we believe taking care of our community starts right here, together. Every day, neighbors step up to donate blood, helping save lives in Milwaukee and beyond. But Versity on King is more than a donor center. It's a place for health education, community connection, and support, especially for families facing conditions like sickle cell disease. When you donate blood, you're not just giving. You're showing up for your community. Visit versity.org/VersityOnKing to learn more or schedule your donation today. Versity on King, rooted in community, powered by hope.
I'm Sherwin Hughes, and I know the power of Stars and Stripes Honor Flight firsthand. As someone who's been on an honor flight, I can tell you it's a day you'll never forget. Stars and Stripes Honor Flight gives our oldest veterans who served in any location in June of 1975 or earlier a free one-day trip to Washington, D.C. for veterans. Airfare, meals, a coach bus tour, and special flight apparel are all included. It's a day of honor, gratitude, and camaraderie. Veterans who served in the Vietnam or Korean War go to flySSHF.org and ask for an application.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com.
6% average black unemployment in 2024. 2025, it went up to 6.9%, peaked at 8.2% that same year of 2025. Early 2026, African-American unemployment is at 7.7%. White unemployment throughout that time period has remained at 3.7%. So just right there, there's an imbalance. Some of that could be, and this is why having good foundational public, private, and charter education is really important. Because if young people are not getting a baseline of education, then the additional technical education they're going to have to get, even if they go into the trades. I don't know why we have reduced the trades to something that's easy. Like, oh, black men need to get involved in the trades. It's important because the AI chiefs, the ones that are reshaping the American workforce with artificial intelligence, they have admitted that trades work is impossible or exceptionally difficult to replace with artificial intelligence. And they noted they need real electricians to build their data centers. So an electrician is not going to be very easily replaced by artificial intelligence. I was watching this, there was a story on CNBC yesterday or the day before. Why are these artificial intelligence companies worth trillions of dollars and they haven't even really produced anything? The amount of investment that they are getting, their soaring stock prices, is not tied to any real profit that they are making. This part is scary. I really don't like giving people scary news, but we are going for a ride today, so I might as well provide you all the information that I can, even if some of it scares you. They estimate these artificial intelligence companies, Anthropic is one, ChatGPT and Claude and Grok, which is the one that is curated by Elon Musk, something like $20 trillion. Even though they have not yet produced $20 trillion worth of revenue or profit, they're valued at $20 trillion, and here is why. The number of people that are currently working in jobs and fields and vocations that AI can replace, their current salaries are $20 trillion. AI plans to take all of the jobs from people who are currently making or working and are valued at $20 trillion, and all of that is now going to go to artificial intelligence. That is scary. So the profit from artificial intelligence companies will come from laying people off, firing people, and downsizing people, and taking away their wages. Those wages that people are being paid for doing those jobs, when those jobs get transferred to artificial intelligence, then that is going to be the profit for those AI companies. Very scary. But if you're an investor, holy smokes. I will say this. My portfolio has changed a little bit because, come on, I don't want to miss the boat. And now I look at the YouTube poll that we did. Hold on, let me get an updated. 92% of the people who are participating or watching or viewing or interacting with this show on YouTube are black. So I'm talking almost exclusively to black people. That's actually kind of refreshing. So can I use the N-word?
Why not?
I can. Okay. Xavier says I can use the N-word because 92% of the people listening to my program are black, assuming people are being honest. Some of you might identify as black, but you're really not. Just because you're a white person that likes hip-hop and wears your hair in cornrows. No, thank you.
Rachel Dolezal's not black?
She thinks she is. 6% are white. 2% are Latino. No Asians? I'm offended. Hey, can I talk to the Asians for a minute? Well, no, I can't because there's none listening. What have I done to you? Why? Here's what's crazy. Nobody even lied and said they were Asian. Nobody even checked the Asian box whatsoever. If you go to youtube.com or open up your YouTube app from your smartphone or other mobile device, search 1017 The Truth, hit subscribe. I want to know who you are. Now the black percentage just went up another one. Now it's 93%. The show is getting blacker as time goes on. The white percentage went down one. I'm losing whites by the moment. What do I need to do to bring the whites in? Because y'all need to be in this conversation too. My Latinos are stuck at 2%.
So I think you're hitting your target market, right?
No. Oh, look, the whites just went up. I can sit and watch these numbers all day. I don't know what my target is. My target is people that are intuitive, intelligent. They're not afraid of truth. They're not afraid of facts. They're productive people, probably of a certain age. Most of my listeners are probably 40 plus, because you have to have lived a certain amount of years and seen this society evolve and change, and you have to go through your own personal evolution and growth and your maturity in order for a lot of the things that I say to make sense. Because if you're in your teens or your 20s, in my opinion, you haven't really lived enough to see societal changes. If you were born during Obama, I kind of feel bad for you because you were born under a really good sign. And if you were born under Obama and now you're living under Trump as a young person, that is an exceptional amount of contrast. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back for Hour 2.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. Need a way to hype up your day?
Hello, is this Shirley?
This is she.
Shirley, you are our Gruber 5K giveaway winner this quarter. Congratulations.
What would you do with $5,000?
Going to look at buying me a pickup truck. That will be some of my down payment.
Stay tuned into 1017 The Truth for your chance to be entered into the Gruber Law Office's 5K giveaway. For contest rules, visit 1017thetruth.com.
I love you guys.
I got money now.
Coming with straight truth.
We can do anything when it comes to being organized, when it comes to making sure that we're active, when it comes to making sure that we're holding people accountable and making sure that we get something out of the deal. Y'all don't know how to make deals. Y'all mad at Donald J. Trump because he's trying to make deals or trying to say that he's the master of the art of the deal. Well, okay, what deals is you trying to make?
Catch the Tory Lowe Show every weekday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Many of our most important memories are made at school. But for children like Victoria, the classroom can be a place of fear and isolation. She wore a bandage over her cleft every day, too shy to speak, too afraid to smile. Everything changed after one life-transforming surgery made possible by Smile Train. Today, Victoria's smile lights up her classroom, a symbol of confidence, connection, and new beginnings. Due to stigma, children with untreated clefts often miss out on school entirely. But thanks to Smile Train, students like Victoria are stepping into the classroom, raising their hands, and finding their voice. Smile Train partners with local experts to support with free cleft surgeries and other comprehensive care, empowering children to thrive in school and in life. Let's help every child walk into the classroom with confidence. Visit smiletrain.org/learn.
You're listening to the new 1017 The Truth, founded in partnership with American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. 1017 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Welcome to Hour 2 of the Truth with Sherwin Hughes. I am talking about these mysterious, mystical phenomenon that are taking place in our society. There's something clearly in the air. Something is weird. Something is amiss. And our politics is not the only thing. I think that Donald Trump is a symptom of an overall thing that is happening. And I know what it is, but I want to try and give as much background about this mysterious thing as I possibly can. And social indicators are our clues that something is going on. African Americans are going to see increased levels of unemployment. It's because of this sentiment that is existing in this country, as the country is moving much faster toward minority majority. There are people that are panicking, and the people that are panicking have a tremendous amount of power. And if you are panicking that you are being replaced, and replacement theory is very real, then you're going to stop providing opportunities to black people, to Latinos, to first-generation Americans, to immigrants, et cetera, et cetera. And those changes in sentiment is going to have a real-world impact. We know that when unemployment goes up, a whole bunch of other negative social indicators also go up. Poverty goes up. People's reliance on benefits goes up. There's going to be a higher need for affordable housing and affordable health care. And if housing and health care continue to get more expensive, while you have some groups that are experiencing higher levels of unemployment, that is a recipe for disaster. And the other thing is the stereotype that exists. Oh, black people are lazy. They don't want to work. You know, an employer, I'm just going to give a real quick example just so people are more intelligent when they engage in these personal and political debates. An employer might find nitpicky reasons to fire their African-American staff. Also because an employer may know that there's a whole bunch of people that are racially biased that work for that company, and they've worked for that company for 30 years. An employer is not often going to get rid of a racially biased employee that has been there for 30 years. They've been there for too long. They're impossible to replace. So instead, they'll hire fewer or none, or begin to reduce their diversity in their workforce so that the black people and the Latino people don't sue. Does that make sense to you? A company that has stalwart 30-plus year employees with a tremendous amount of experience are more likely to keep their job, even if they are racist, than to hire a qualified, talented African-American, Asian, or Latino, because those African-Americans, Asians, and Latinos will see and will feel the discrimination, and they will sue, and they will likely win. So don't hire them at all. And that is contributing to higher levels of African-American unemployment. But then when people see the numbers, they say, oh, well, 7-8% of black people are unemployed. That's because they're lazy and don't want to work. We also could be fired by white people. And then I know what your answer is. Why don't they just start a business? That's not easy. What are you going to sell? Where are you going to get your investment income from? Where are you going to get the $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 in loans and in grants to start your business? And once you start it, what is your path to be profitable? Can you withstand operating a business for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years and make zero profit whatsoever? Do you have a house that you can pull assets from? Statistically, if you're black, no, you don't. It's not that easy. Oh, I'm just going to start a business. And then think about this. The negative stereotypes of black-owned businesses. Some are earned, some are not justified. The decline is sharper for other groups. Black unemployment rose faster than white workers and the overall workforce. In 2025, black unemployment at the beginning of the year stood at 6.9%. White unemployment remained consistent at 3.9%. Hiring rates fell to their lowest level since 2013. 2025 job growth collapsed compared to 2024. Economists describe a, quote, low hire, low fire market. Black workers tend to be more sensitive to economic and job downturns. Their unemployment historically rises earlier and faster than all other racial groups. Strongest evidence of disproportionate impact. If black workers had maintained 2024 employment rates, 260,000 more African Americans would be employed in 2025. Black women's unemployment jumped sharply from 5.4% to 7.3% in a single year, the first year Donald Trump was in office. Some groups, younger African American workers, saw extreme volatility, up to 29% higher unemployment rates. There's clear data-backed evidence of a decline in hiring outcomes for African Americans from 2024 through 2026. The trend is measurable across rising unemployment, falling employment rates, and widening racial gaps. The most accurate interpretation is the U.S. labor market did weaken between 2025 and 2026, and African Americans were disproportionately affected, consistent with long-standing economic patterns where black workers are the first hit and hardest hit during slowdowns. Donald Trump's anti-affirmative action and DEI policies certainly played a role. Let's talk to someone who I know is unemployed. Hello, Bob.
Hello, Sherwin. Listen, I hope to get my point across, because you can be an ornery individual, some days. You know what I mean? But okay. My mother believes in education. She graduated from junior college when she was when she was 16. My father didn't believe in education. He said, all you got to do is work hard and don't steal. Both of them were right. But Martin Luther King said, if you're going to be the best, if you're going to work, be the best be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper that you can be. That's what Martin Luther King said. Now, here's how I feel, Sherwin. You talk about education, but I believe that my father is right also. And if you work hard and don't steal, and there's plenty of jobs where you don't need tons of education. Now, when I was working, I did hear, you got to have a high school education. Now you got to have a college education. But I just gave every job a B. Not an A, because I don't want to outwork my coworkers. But I definitely gave him a B. And I never had a hard time finding a job, because the job would say he quit because we wouldn't give him a raise. But he's a good worker. I believe my last employers always said that, because I never had no problem looking in the newspaper, picking a job, and working. And after 6 months to a year, if they didn't give me a raise, I was gone. They couldn't believe it. I had a big, fat guy who was my boss. And then that man couldn't unload the truck as fast as me. If he wanted to, he was my boss, and he didn't believe I was going to quit. And I said, after a year, I said, give me a raise. You got to get a raise. You can make the same amount of money, a low amount of money, and then when you get yourself...
Do you remember the year, the last time you were hired as a new hire for a job? So when was the last time you started a job? Do you remember what year it was?
50 years old. 50 years old, I was wondering, I became a school bus driver, and I was wondering why nobody would hire me. I said, what is wrong? All the way 21 to 50 people would hire, because I was in the newspaper.
How long were you a full-time school bus driver or just part-time?
Oh, no. Well, you basically part-time.
Okay.
And
when was the last, other than driving, how long did you drive the bus for? You didn't drive a bus for 20 years. 3
years. 3 years, and my two daughters came with me when I had a stroke.
How many years hold on, I'm trying to get some information here. How many years did you drive the bus?
3 years.
Okay, so not very long. What was the last job that you, Bob, stop. What was the last job you had that was full-time? When did you get hired for not the bus driver, but the last full-time job that you had where you got salary and benefits? What year was that when you got hired?
That was concrete.
And how long did you do the concrete job?
I did that 3 years.
Bob, have you ever worked anywhere longer than 3 years?
Yeah, I worked 2 places, 9 years apiece. And I worked there because they gave me a raise every year.
Bob, stop.
Twice a year.
Okay, good. Those were full-time jobs.
Now this is important.
Bob, you don't know what I'm trying. I'm trying to make you make sense because there are people listening to you that have no idea what you're talking about. I'm actually trying to help you, but please let me. So the 9-year job you had, concrete, I'm assuming, right? What year did you get hired for that?
No, I delivered pipe. And that's for 9 years.
Okay.
And then I was
what year was
delivering
that? I need to know the year you were hired for the pipe job.
From 90 to 99.
Okay. The point I'm trying to make is your perspective on, if you just work hard and don't steal. The economy was very different in the 20th century. In the 90s and the 80s, the types of jobs that were available were very different. Also, what some of those jobs paid were very different. I absolutely believe that back then, 25, 30 years ago, you could get certain jobs, make a decent amount of money, make a good wage, make a good salary without an education. But now in 2026, because we live in reality, a job that you can obtain without having any semblance of education is going to pay you minimum wage. And minimum wage nowadays, you can't afford gas, you can't afford food, and you can't afford rent, let alone buying a house. In the last 30 years, Bob, since you have been essentially out of the workforce, things have gotten more expensive. There's been a heavier premium when it comes to education that is needed to make even less money. So you can't say what worked for you 30-something years ago is going to apply right now. Yes, people need a work ethic, but if they want to make any kind of money where they can take care of themselves, let alone a family, and education is going to be a part of that, where 30 or 40 years ago it was less important. That's all.
I will submit to you.
I know, because I got to hang up on you because you had nothing else to say after that. I let Bob talk. Y'all always accuse me of being mean to Bob, but Bob will take you around the block just to get next door now. Now, I love when people give their anecdotal advice about, back in my day, but yet your day isn't relevant anymore. Hell, I can do that too. I can also ask, how come a bunch of you aren't radio hosts? I'm a radio host. What's wrong with you? How come you didn't get a job hosting a radio show, you lazy bums? I think there's only, let me see. Well, most of them are here. Was it 4 black men? 5? 6 tops that host radio shows in Wisconsin? Even if you go nationwide, it's not very many of us. So even this job is rare. All right, I'm going to take a break. Come back. There's some changing attitudes on race. And I know that you see it. I know that you feel it. So we talked about, first of all, ghost jobs on LinkedIn and increasing African-American unemployment. But this is also connected to drastic changes in attitudes about race and racial diversity. And people that subscribe to the 2 major political parties also have different feelings about race and diversity. And just think for a moment, if there is one political party that has, let's just say, old school and antiquated views on race and diversity, it also is a political party that is going beyond the pale to remove immigrants from this country. Think about the kind of effect that can have on other racial minorities. If there is a comfortable political party for people to subscribe to and vote for that is anti-diversity, and imagine if some of those anti-diversity people own companies, or they work in human resources, or they're in charge of hiring and firing. The anti-diversity sentiment that we know exists in this country can have real, measurable economic impacts on talented people, on hardworking people, on educated people, and this is what we are attempting to measure. You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
At Junior Achievement, students learn how innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship can turn a simple idea into something that changes an industry. With support from Cost Corporation, students are discovering how engineering, product design, and smart marketing bring great ideas to life. From pioneering studio headphones to building a brand recognized around the world, Cost shows students how technology and creativity shape the way we experience music. Learn more at ja.org.
Hi, this is Sherwin Hughes from 1017 The Truth, and I want to talk to you about something bigger than just buying a house. I'm talking about building a legacy. Owning a home isn't just about four walls and a roof. It's about giving your kids a place where memories are made, where birthdays are celebrated, and where they always belong. It's about planting roots, knowing your neighbors, waving from the porch, and being a part of a community that feels like family. If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to work with you. An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan, a budget, and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and many are paying less than they were paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your families tomorrow. Start your journey at axehousing.org. That is ACTShousing.org. Your legacy begins at home.
The legendary Broadway show is back. The Wiz. The Chicago Sun-Times raves. It's an eye-popping, high-intensity revival. The music, the voices, the legend returns. Entertainment Weekly says, run, don't ease on down to this spectacular revival. The Wiz. Playing the Marcus Center, March 24th through 29th. Tickets at marcuscenter.org.
Natural gas is a clean, reliable, and convenient source of energy delivered directly to you through underground pipelines. The pipeline system has an excellent safety record, but there are clues that can help you identify a potential hazard. If you smell the strong odor of rotten eggs, hear an unusual hissing sound, or see blowing dirt or debris, it could be a natural gas leak. Leave the area immediately and call We Energies at 800-261-5325.
We Energies. People you can trust. Energy you can depend on.
You spend more than 2,500 hours a year on your mattress, so is your mattress working for you? It's time to upgrade your sleep game during Steinhoffel's Mattress Madness. Their sleep experts will match you with the perfect mattress so you can wake up rested, refreshed, and ready to take on the day. Shop all the top brands at unbeatable prices, plus enjoy free delivery and a 120-night sleep guarantee so you can rest easy knowing you made the right choice. Shop Mattress Madness in store at steinhoffels.com today.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Got an article here penned by research analyst Kylie Hurst. I'm just trying to explain just what's happening right now in this nation, and if we are going to move toward better days, what should we attack first? Obviously, the issue of race and being accepting of people of other races it's a tough one because it's that attitude, a negative attitude about others and about different people. Like, there's a cost associated with racial bias. And it's businesses sometimes overlooking the best talent or us discounting and discrediting people because maybe English wasn't their first language. I would argue that people that speak more than one language are smarter than us monolinguistic people. Some of them speak English because we speak only English. Most Americans don't know a second language, and we are one of the very few. Like, that right there is evidence of how weak our education system is writ large. Damn near every other country knows English or knows French or Spanish or German or Portuguese or something. They're all monolingual, not us. So right there, we're educationally deficient. That's just one of many examples. The article says, as the United States turns 250 years old on July 4th, the country's population is more racially and ethnically diverse than in previous decades. Overall, Americans tend to see that as more of a good thing than a bad thing, according to a recent set of surveys by the Pew Research Center. 3/4 of U.S. adults see racial and ethnic diversity as a good thing for the country. Similarly, 62% say racial and ethnic diversity has a positive impact on the country's culture. That's not a good number. 62% think that what the country is and what it's becoming more of is a good thing. That means that 38% don't. In that 38% could be people with tremendous amount of power, impact, and influence. So when I see this number of 62% that say, oh yeah, racial and ethnic diversity has a positive impact, a lot of times that 62% could be people that are of racial and ethnic diversity. Majorities of Democrats, this is where it gets interesting. This is where if you're a black Republican, you just got to lie to yourself a lot. You have to not believe things. You have to discredit things. Or what's more likely is there are things that are happening in our society that black Republicans, they just don't understand it. They haven't taken the time to study it, to demystify it, to deconstruct it, to understand it, and they just dismiss it. Most people do that. If there's something that you don't know or you don't understand, it's not real. It's, oh, that's just fake. I don't subscribe to that. I don't know what that is. That's a problem. Because we are living in a society where a computer is going to take your job and take your livelihood. Like, we as people can't be in a position to where we can just dismiss stuff that we don't understand. The more you don't understand, the more that you won't take the time to begin to interpret, the more it's going to hurt you. 86% of Democrats and 66% of Republicans say that the U.S. population is made up of people of many different races and ethnicities. These shares include people who identify or lean toward each party. But partisans differ more sharply on how diversity impacts the country's culture. Please listen carefully to this next part. 82% of Democrats say the impact is positive, while 45% Republicans say the same. You can blast the Democrats for a whole bunch of stuff. They're weak. They don't have any policy. How do they let Trump get away with all of this stuff? Go ahead. They don't win elections, all the things, right? But this is probably the most significant difference in the political parties. And if you are, and I'm not speaking for other races, because I can't. I've never been Latino a day in my life. However, that Super Bowl halftime performance made me feel a little Latino. A little bit. When Bad Bunny performed, I had a little bit of an accent when I listened to Bad Bunny. Partisans differ more sharply on how diversity impacts the country's culture. 82% of Democrats think the impact is positive. 45% of Republicans think that the impact of diversity is positive, meaning the majority of people who are Republicans think that diversity is negative. Our existence, our very beating hearts, they see as a negative. Why would you subscribe to that political party unless you hate black people too? There's a place. Here's the thing that I also want to clear up, because if you listen to my show earlier in the week where I talked about businesses, they should be able to discriminate. We are fooled and deceived by who actually likes us. We think because somebody is decent, they smile at us, and they make small talk conversation, that they actually care about our well-being. They do not. And while it's illegal and it violates the 1964 Civil Rights Act, a business can't deny service. A business that's open to the public can't deny service to someone because of their race, ethnicity, gender, all of the things. But if you don't like me and you don't think I should be alive, and if my existence and my progress and like my money, my employment, and my quality of life is a threat to you, then I want to know that. I want you to tell me that so I can not spend money in your business. Otherwise, you're going to lie to me, you're going to deceive me, and pick my pocket at the same time. If poor and working class white people had a better understanding of that, because wealthy white people hate them too, but they're easy to manipulate because they have been told and sold this idea of whiteness, and that they one day are going to be millionaires and billionaires too, as long as they hate black people just like rich people do. and you are just as poor as you always have ever been, and you're wondering, because even white folks are thinking like, wait a minute, we voted for Mr. Trump. Well, how come everything is getting more expensive? But Mr. Trump told us that gas prices was going to come down. But Mr. Trump said he and they got to stutter a little bit. He was going to put America first. Why is Mr. Trump involved in a foreign Middle Eastern war with the Muslim peoples? Leave them Muslim peoples alone. Let them worship their Allah. What about us here in America? Because he's lying to you. If you can manipulate somebody based on the color of their skin, hell, might as well, right? There's no reason to be moral to people that you hate. Poor white people have been exploited for cheap labor, just like everybody else. Like once slavery ended, now everybody's got to become cheap labor. It used to be just us, even though I could argue that it wasn't cheap labor. But once slavery ended, no one wanted to pay the value of labor. That's why we have labor unions. And even labor unions have a history of being racially biased, because there's something that's overlooked in history, because how America teaches history is probably the worst in the world. Every other nation knows more about the details of this country than we do, because, we don't want white people to know the truth about themselves. So we hide it. When slavery ended, at least on paper, African-American men and women to some extent, but women were out of the workforce and kept out of the workforce for gender reasons, race reasons, but gender reasons as well. But African-American men, even boys, were skilled labor. We have a very narrow view of chattel slavery that black people just picked cotton. Okay, cotton didn't grow year-round. And so what did your labor force do when the crops were either growing or between harvests? We were blacksmiths. We were welders. We took care of every labor, every duty. We built houses. We built barns. We paved roads. You know what all that is? That's skilled labor. And so when slavery ended, there was an entire cohort of black men that were skilled laborers. Yes, they knew agricultural labor, but they also knew technical trades as well, because if you purchased a human being, you are going to extrapolate every bit of labor out of them that you can. So when we were freed, we moved north for a couple of reasons. The first reason was to find our families, because we got split up from our families. But the next was because the North was industrialized. The North had factories, and we knew and had, as black men, technical and trade experience. So white labor unions were like, wait a minute, these blacks are coming up here with job experience that we don't even have. They are more labor trained than us. Then you had the invention of what is called a closed shop union, because white men did not want black men who had more real world and productive experience than they did to get hired at their companies and their factories. And here's why race actually hurt working class white men. They still haven't really recovered from it. Not to mention the whole era of slavery undermined white wages anyway, because why would you pay a white person an actual hourly wage or a salary when you can buy a black person and make that black person perform all of those labors for the purchase price of the black person? Right? What it would have done for working class white men that didn't want black men to join, work with them at factories and in the industry in the North, is it would have doubled the size of their union, and they would have had more political power. If African-American men were allowed to join those unions, union membership would have grown. Union dues that were paid would have grown. Political influence on who you get elected as governor and as mayor and as in the state Congress or the U.S. House of Representatives or the U.S. Senate all would have favored these larger and expanding labor unions had they not been racist and let us join them. So they undermined their own political and economic progress by being racist. Majorities of Democrats at 86% and Republicans at 66% say it's a good thing that the U.S. population is made up of people of many different races and ethnicities. Please keep in mind that means that 34% of Republicans think it's a bad thing that the country is made up of many different races and ethnicities. But partisans differ more sharply in how diversity impacts the country's culture. Now, remember, there's a country culture, but then there's a culture at the job you work at, too. And if Republicans and conservatives think that diversity is bad for America's culture, I want you to think about this in job terms. Then that same job creator, that business owner, that company, that CEO, those people that work in HR, if they subscribe to what the majority of Republicans subscribe to, where diversity hurts culture, they're not gonna hire you. And you can't make them hire you. So when this sentiment of fear of replacement theory really starts to permeate the job market, you are going to see higher levels of African Americans who are unemployed, reinforcing the stereotype that black people are lazy. Do you know that the white people control and own so much in this country? And here's the thing. I don't expect them to give control up, because why would they? For what? If you had control, you wouldn't give it up. You wouldn't give it up to somebody you hate, that's for sure. You may give it up to another white person, but the problem is white people ain't having babies no more. I don't know what it is about them not having babies. Let me tell you this much. A baby is easy to make. I mean, it takes some repetition, but the repetition is a ball. It's a great time, you know. Get you a couple of vodka tonics, a couple of glasses of red wine, and there you go, baby making practice. The share of Americans who say racial and ethnic diversity is very or somewhat a good thing hasn't changed much since 2019, but the share who say it's a very good thing for the country has decreased from 57% to 48%. Please take note of this. The share of people that think racial and ethnic diversity is a good thing has gone down, and pretty dramatically. Now it's less than half of the people in the country that think the diversity is a good thing. Take a break, come back, continue providing information, and maybe we should check our YouTube poll. Looks like we're holding steady. The questions are demographic in nature. I'm just curious to see who is participating and listening to this program, at least via YouTube, where we have our daily survey up. 90% African American, 5% white, 1% Latino. Well, look at my Asians coming in the clutch. 3% Asian. When we started the show, like the first hour of the show, there was no Asians. Not my Asians. Maybe Asians get up later, or maybe they're at work. They're working very hard. 1% Latino. That makes sense. I think the Latinos believe that I'm racially biased against them. Not really. I mean, I love you all as much as you all love us. So take that with a grain of salt. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. Will be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Life's better with Drive My Way from American Family Insurance, because we know it's more than just a car. It's your escape pod, your adventure mobile, your memory maker. And we help protect the dreams that drive you. Personalize what you pay for auto insurance and you could save between 10 and 35%. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products, pricing, and availability vary based on the way you purchase insurance and by state. Unsafe driving behaviors may increase your rate. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer, providing equal employment, development, and advancement opportunities to all teammates and applicants. To learn more about careers with us, please send an email to talentacquisition@goodkarmabrands.com. That's talentacquisition@goodkarmabrands.com.
Breaking down the issues that shape our city and our future.
The worst kind of whites, not that I'm picking on white folks, but you know how it goes, is the ones that think that they will lose something if this country becomes more fair and equal. I'm going to say that again. The worst kind of white people are the ones that think that if a black person gets a job and gets an opportunity and they ignore how hard the black person had to work and the racism, the bigotry, and the discrimination, and just how people turn their noses up at smart black people. They hate us. And the black person works really hard and overcomes maybe generational curses of poor health and poverty and all of those things. And we got to deal with the police and the criminal justice system that doesn't often have our backs. And then a black person gets a job, gets an opportunity, and a white person sees that and thinks that they lost. Those are the worst kind.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, weekdays from 9 to noon. Catch it live on YouTube or tune in to 1017 The Truth.
I take care of the kids, and I take care of my dad. I take care of things at work. The groceries, the cleanups, the meltdowns, the doctor's visits, the family events, mealtimes, bedtimes. I take care of all the things everyone else needs. But I haven't made time to take care of what I need.
Family caregivers are often overloaded. It can feel overwhelming and exhausting. It's no surprise that millions of caregivers experience symptoms of anxiety and depression every year. But help is available, because there may only be one you, but you don't have to do it alone. Head to mentalhealthcareworks.org. That's mentalhealthcareworks.org to learn how to get the support you deserve, because mental health care works when you make the call. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis or thoughts of suicide, dial 988, a message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to help. An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan and a budget and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and you can be next. And also, many are paying a lot less than they were paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your family's bright financial future. Start your journey with Axe Housing today. That is actshousing.org. Your legacy begins at home. Everybody go and buy a house, and you'll be happier. And then maybe you'll keep the neighborhood clean, because if you own a house, you don't want garbage in front of your house. Why don't we just gentrify a whole bunch of white neighborhoods? That's what we should do. A whole bunch of black folks just go buy New Berlin. Well, if I was elected governor, I would turn Waukesha, Washington, all the counties that didn't vote for me. So you know how Trump punishes blue states? Like, he messes with them. He takes their federal funding. He sends in the National Guard. Well, if I was elected governor, which I don't know, thinking about it, problem is I might win. So then I'd be like, damn. When Trump got elected in 2016, he didn't think he was going to win. He didn't even have a speech prepared. He was ready to bash Hillary Clinton, and then they told him that he won. If you go back and replay it, he's stunned. He had no intentions of addressing the crowd as the next president of the United States. It was so wild. So if I ran for governor and I won, I'd be like, oh, man. Because the state is 79% white. I would be the white people's governor. And they think differently. And I get it. It's their state. And they would want me, like, I'd have to spend a lot of my time dealing with farmers. Because Wisconsin farmers, what do they grow? Ginseng, we're like an international producer of ginseng. I think we're still up there with soybeans and then cranberries. So I'd have to spend like 3-4 hours a day meeting with members of my team and my cabinets. Oh, what are we going to do about the damn ginseng farmers? I don't even care about ginseng, but it's probably a multi-million-dollar industry. And I would just want to help black people with stuff, which is only 6% of the state. And so I would look at all of and it's weird because even though I think people would know my political background and where my policies are, I would get a lot of Democratic votes or disaffected Democrats or likely Democratic voters would vote for me. So there would be counties that are 90+% Caucasian, maybe even more than that would in fact vote for me, but I couldn't really do a lot for them. I want to help the 6% that are black because there's so much racial bias and just unfairness built into the system. Even if you have a decent governor, there are still systems that exist that favor the majority of the people in this state, which Wisconsin is always going to be a white state. It just is. Now, black people and people that are not white are going to be able to occupy their own places and spaces, but the whites have all the land here. So I would take the Republican voting counties that didn't vote for me, which would be the ones that I just mentioned. I'm like, well, it's not like they would ever vote for me, so I wouldn't gain any votes by hurting them. I'd be like, well, I'm going to make your county one big data center. But we live here. Not anymore. I mean, I'll rent you a room in the data center. You can work at the data center, like cutting the grass and picking up trash, I guess. I guess I could hire you to do that. There's a history of... One day I just need to, I probably have to do it on my own podcast because it probably wouldn't fit well for this current format of a 3-hour Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until noon show. But just the history of how poor and working class white people have been exploited, in some cases, just as bad as black people have. Because it makes no sense why white people want to hurt other white people because they're kind of in the game together. Hurting black people makes sense because they thought of us as less than human. They enslaved us. They didn't want to give us any rights. That, while it's immoral and disgusting, it makes sense to them. That's the whole reason why they started this country. We want a place where white people can do a lot of stuff and just beat everybody up or kill people if they get in our way. But to do that to other white folks is crazy. So you've got this whole history of the coal miners. And a lot of our country does run on coal. Hell, I drive an electric vehicle. What I use to charge my vehicle is coal, basically. We have coal-fired plants that create the majority of our electricity. We don't use solar panels here. That's for damn sure. So you had these white folks that were mining, and they got black lung disease, and they were the first ones addicted to opiates because the backbreaking labor, and they exploited their opiate addictions, and it turned into heroin addiction, and it turned into fentanyl addiction, and killed hundreds of thousands of people, and nobody even talks about that. That's the kind of exploitation that, I did a show on that the opioid crisis killed like a multiple of 10 times more people than crack did. Crack just added to other kinds of crime. The opiate crisis killed millions of people, and they're still dying. In fact, I posted a video of an overdose that I witnessed one day some years ago. So white people would mine coal and wouldn't even get paid money. They got paid in scripts where everything they bought was owned by the coal mining company. The medicine they needed, their groceries, their clothes. They weren't even paid in cash, meaning if they left the coal mining community, they had $0. They couldn't even leave. That's one of the worst kinds of slavery I've ever seen. They're not even paying white folks in real money. And there was very few black people that were working in those coal mines in eastern Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Then they addicted them on drugs. That's really super mean. But yeah, you think that black people are the problem? There's a whole story of even the rednecks. The rednecks are not who we think they are. Rednecks have been co-opted by an offshoot of Southern culture. Rednecks were the people that went to war, and thousands of them died, fighting the owners of these coal mining companies that were exploiting people's labor. And they wore red bandanas so they could identify themselves as being a part of the resistance. So now when we think, and rednecks were actually, some were native, some were black, the vast majority were white, of course. But redneck has now been co-opted by a particular subculture of, well, I'm proud to be a redneck. Rednecks were notoriously pro-union and anti-racist. Rednecks were anti-labor exploitation. And here's the problem that I have. I'm telling some of y'all that for the first time because you have just known and understood that, rednecks are racist Southern people. No, racist Southern folks stole the term from anti-capitalists, pro-labor collectively bargaining folk that wore red bandanas so they could identify themselves and they are the ones that are part of the resistance. In fact, it was President, Woodrow Wilson, Calvin Coolidge, one of them old-timey dudes that sent federal troops to provide more armed support to the owners of the coal mining companies to shoot and to kill the people that worked in the coal mines that were just fighting for better labor conditions. Oh, it's a beautiful history if you ever care to study it. But it's why so many Americans are so stupid. 3/4 of U.S. adults see racial and ethnic diversity as a good thing for the country. Similarly, 62%, only 62% say racial and ethnic diversity has a positive impact on the country's culture. Majorities of Democrats at 8.6 in 10, basically all of them. 86% of Democrats and only 66% of Republicans say it's a good thing that the U.S. population is made up of people of many different races and ethnicities. But partisans differ more sharply on how diversity impacts the country's culture. 82% of Democrats say the impact is positive, while only 45% of Republicans say that ethnic diversity positively impacts American culture. The share of Americans who say racial and ethnic diversity is a very or somewhat good thing hasn't changed much since 2019, but the share who say it's a very good thing for the country has decreased from 57 to 48%. Most Americans, 64%, say it is very or somewhat important for companies and organizations to promote racial and ethnic diversity, meaning 36% say that it is not a good thing that companies and organizations promote racial diversity and ethnic diversity. This is down from 75% in 2019. So as the country gets more diverse, a larger share of people think that diversity is actually a bad thing. We'll take a break, come back, and continue our little chit-chat. We're going for a ride today. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. Will be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Truth Nation, Gruber Law Offices, and The Truth have raised the stakes for this year. The One Call, That's All Gruber Cash giveaway is now a $5K giveaway. Yes, you heard it right. $5,000 giveaway. Every weekday on 1017 The Truth, you will have the chance to be entered to win the $5K giveaway. Listen to The Truth for the One Call, That's All cue to call for your chance to win $5,000. Gruber Law Offices, One Call, That's All. Visit 1017thetruth.com for official contest rules.
Hi, this is Sherwin Hughes from 1017 The Truth, and I want to talk to you about something bigger than just buying a house. I'm talking about building a legacy. Owning a home isn't just about four walls and a roof. It's about giving your kids a place where memories are made, where birthdays are celebrated, and where they always belong. It's about planting roots, knowing your neighbors, waving from the porch, and being a part of a community that feels like family. If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to work with you. An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan, a budget, and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and many are paying less than they were paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your family's tomorrow. Start your journey at axehousing.org. That is ACTShousing.org. Your legacy begins at home.
Sweet Talks Medical Spa in Menominee Falls. Skip the sterile clinical office feel. Sweet Talk stays on the cutting edge of beauty and wellness innovations in a vibrant, playful space promoting self-love and confidence. Sweet Talk specializes in a range of treatments including injectables, medical-grade skincare, weight loss, hormone therapies, and more. Not sure where to start? Sweet Talks offers comprehensive wellness consultations to create a customized plan centered around you. Because at Sweet Talks, your goals are their goals. Learn more at sweettalks.com.
Join me every Friday at 11 a.m. for the Milwaukee Experience with Sherwin Hughes, presented by Visit Milwaukee. We're a city that knows how to celebrate, where the calendar is packed with festivals, the plates are piled high with flavor, and a lakefront sunrise sets the stage. Here in Milwaukee, every street leads to something worth savoring, a place that welcomes you with open arms and where joy is shared in bites, beats, and cheers. The Milwaukee Experience every Friday at 11 a.m. exclusively on The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, presented by Visit Milwaukee.
After a serious accident, you'll need a winning team to protect your rights. Trust Wisconsin's own Gruber Law Offices, proud partner of your Milwaukee Brewers. One call, that's all.
Prizes, exclusive experiences, even cash money. You want it? We've got it. Find a list of all contests and official rules by visiting truthcontests.com. That's truthcontests.com.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Let's see if our demographics has changed. Are you? 91% say that they're African American or black. Excuse me. 5% white. 1% Latino. 3% Asian. Look at my Asians coming in the clutch. Shout out to the Asians. I should have included, well, we couldn't because we only get 4 choices. Because there's other, multiracial, and then there's Alaska Native and Aleutian Islander. Just call yourself Asian, please, just for today. Maybe we'll do another poll and we'll ask how many people are multiracial, Alaska Native, or Aleutian Islander. It probably won't be very many. But the kind of radio, I shouldn't call it radio, the content that I create, it doesn't reinforce what white people know. It challenges it. And some people are okay with that. Real intelligent people want to be proven wrong. I know I do. If there's something that I have believed my entire life and it was a fallacy, please tell me so I can stop sounding like a fool. But a lot of people want the bliss that comes from ignorance. Like, they don't want to know that what they've been told has been wrong, that they have been conned, that they have been manipulated, that they have been cajoled into hating people that they have way more in common with. Like, look what I'm wearing today. Look at this. It's opening day. The Milwaukee Brewers played entirely too many baseball games. So I'm with you. Because I say I'm with you because you wouldn't even, if you went to Miller Park, you would think that you were in like Utah or Montana or one of the Dakotas. It's so many white people. Baseball is such, the spectators are so Caucasian. It's totally their, they love it. Oh, they go insane. I like the Brewers more when they're winning, of course. Do I go to many games? I do not. The game is too long. There's not always a lot of hits. You know, when it gets toward like the pennant race, it gets a little bit more like divisional playoffs, the NCLS, like that stuff. But that's not until October. It's March. So I'm not going to pay attention for a while. But shout out to the home team, the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't get into it like they do. I felt so like out of place culturally at a Brewers game. And not that I had any bad incident. Everybody was very nice. There's just a lot of white folks. And not normal whites. Like West Dallas, like dirty-faced whites. Like the kind that are kind of upset they have to wear shoes. But shout out to them. I've got no issue with the dirty whites.
Hold on.
You know?
So
yes.
What are you saying here?
I don't think I stuttered. They're just, the working class whites are always the ones that are the most dangerous because they're easy to manipulate. They're easier to manipulate and to be manipulated because they have a lot of economic insecurity. And to those like working class white people, because they've been screwed over too by the change in the American economy. Like they've been left out and left behind. But it's easier for them to blame black people and black people's progress. It's easier for them to blame DEI and affirmative action. It's easier for them to blame immigrants, migrants, Mexicans, and Latinos for their economic downturn instead of blaming rich white people. And so that's why they always are the most ignorant. You guys know that. West Dallas, West Milwaukee, like southeastern and southwestern suburbs of Milwaukee County they're getting a little bit more diverse, but the racism is so incredibly pronounced because working class white people, and like Cudahy is a working class town because they had Patrick Cudahy, big meat packing plant there, which they downsized dramatically. And that's where a lot of those white folks who lived in those segregated white communities worked. And then when more African Americans came here from the South, there was competition from us. And so they always see black people and our progress as taking something away from them, not blaming the white power structure in this country that is so incredibly greedy. So white folks think that other white people can't harm them. Those are the first people that white people harm. Look at homicide rates. And I know we look at how many times black people kill. We do a lot of killing as black folks. Let me not minimize that. But white people kill 90% of white people. Oh, I'll freaking shoot you, dude. White people bludgeon each other. I'll bludgeon you. That's how they threaten each other. Don't beat each other with this phone handle. Take that, you scoundrel.
That's what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Exactly. He got hit in the head with a hammer. See, white people, they bludgeon. And we, as black people, we don't kill a lot of white people. Well, it depends on what they did, though. But for the most part, it's black on black crime, but it's also white on white crime, too. And Asian on Asian crime. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back for Hour 3.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on March 31st.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes.
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they battle the Tampa Bay Rays.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness, third deck.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Delta Dental of Wisconsin. Tune in March 31st at 6:40 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee or check your local listings to watch the game.
Breaking down the issues that shape our city and our future.
Another function of white supremacy, don't teach black people stuff, because if you give us a little bit of knowledge, we'll invent something totally new. That's why it was illegal to teach slaves to read, because if we could read, then we could write. And if we could write, we could communicate. And if we could communicate, we could plan. And if we could plan, we could strategize. And if we can plan and write and read and communicate and strategize, we could overthrow white supremacy, because they've always known how fragile it is.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, weekdays from 9 to noon.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
70 million people in the U.S. have learning and thinking differences, like ADHD and dyslexia. Each has their own story. This is ours. At first, I thought it was just a phase. Then schoolwork became a struggle. Emotions got bigger, and my kids started falling behind. I felt alone, like I was lost in the dark trying to find answers. Then I learned about Understood.org, a nonprofit empowering parents and kids like us. It was like we had a light to show us the path ahead. Whenever new challenges came up, their guidance helped us figure out our next step. We still have tough days, but now we have direction. And I have the tools and resources I need to help my child thrive. No matter where you are on the path, Understood can help you keep moving forward. Visit understood.org/yourpath today.
You're listening to the new 1017 The Truth, founded in partnership with Associated Bank. Your money works here. 1017 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee. A locally owned Good Karma brand station. More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
This is my cut right here. Welcome to Hour 3 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. There are some growing partisan differences on how the political parties look at diversity. The Democrats still hold racial and ethnic diversity in very high esteem, where the Republicans don't, and the share of Republicans that are growing more antagonistic toward diversity is getting bigger right in front of our faces. And earlier I remarked, and maybe it was offensive, but if you get offended, that's not my problem, that's a you thing, because I can't control what offends you. If you're a black Republican, you're like an anti-Semitic Jew, because this party is growing in its hatred for anything that is not white. And I just don't want black people. Listen, you can do whatever you want to, vote for whoever you want to, but what I don't like, if you're going to be a black Republican, and there are plenty, don't lie to yourself about why you're doing it. You may hate Democrats. You may hate the Democrats prop up women. You may hate the Democrats want women to make their own health care decisions. You may have all these like little small micro reasons for voting for a Republican, but you are overlooking the biggest reason. They hate us. And they're everywhere. And a lot of them are mortgage lenders, they work at banks, they're employers, they're cops, they're firefighters, they're EMTs. If we ever took a moment to really analyze where people's ignorance on race can harm black people, you will be so depressed you'll never leave the house. I'm thoroughly convinced that, so our EMTs in this city, EMTs are 80% white. I'm not saying that all of them, or even a portion of that 80%, have racial bias, but I know for a fact that some of them are letting us die. When they get their fifth call to a shooting where a black kid, black man, black woman got shot, do you think there's a lot of urgency, especially if they think that we're a lower order of being? I need you to think about this. We seem to think that people, if they're in certain professional positions, that they must have a deep and affectionate love for people. You always can tell people that have a deep and affectionate love for people because they move different. We seem to think that because somebody works in public education and they may work at MPS, that they love black kids. They hate our kids' guts, but they're getting a salary, they're getting benefits, they're getting their second bachelor's degree paid for by the district. They're getting their second, third master's degree paid for by the district. They're getting their PhD paid for by the district. But to do that, they have to deal with our kids for 6 or 7 hours a day, 8 or 9 months out of the year. We don't seem to think that some of the outcomes of our children are influenced by the racial bias of the teachers and their own self-fulfilling prophecies, whether it be, because I think it's racist to promote a child to the next grade if they can't read. That child is finished. They're done. If you can't grasp third grade concepts and then we put you in fourth grade and you can't grasp third grade concepts and we put you in fifth grade and you can't grasp third grade concepts and now you're about to enter middle school, you tell me where that outcome gets better. Or even the soft bigotry of low expectations. We can't expect these black children to know math. They only have 10 fingers. We can't expect them to count to 11. Even though there is a history of our creation, our engineering, and our mechanical aptitude before the schools were integrated, I would argue, I don't know, I have to look at a whole bunch of science stuff. But I think we did more, created more, designed more, engineered more when the schools were still segregated. I think I don't know, maybe. We've invented some of everything. The doorknob, my favorite one. White people built a bunch of houses and didn't know how to get in them. I built this gigantic plantation and I have no idea how to enter. And a black man was like, you need a doorknob. Excuse me, I need a what? You need to be able to open open the door. Oh, I'll be damned.
You ever hear about the new black dude? He created
new black dude
gasoline out of plastic.
Did they kill him?
No, he's still alive.
Oh, okay. That would make sense though, because plastic is a petroleum product. There was also I think he was black. He used water to run a car. He disappeared.
Yeah, a lot of those dudes do.
Well,
this one's still alive.
We have I'm shocked at because this history doesn't tell us that. Because why would they? If I had an Afrocentric school, and I'm just being practical here, where I taught black kids and I wanted black kids to know who they are and know what they've done and what our history says and how important, how powerful we are. But I don't go around, oh, you're a king. No, not all black people are kings. Stop that. Please stop. Queen, king, shut up with that, please. Don't give people a false sense of hope. Because you got people that are paupers that are running around here thinking that they're royalty, and that's another problem. But if I would be chronological in history, but I wouldn't spend a disproportionate amount of time if I was teaching black children all the stuff that white people did. White people invented stuff, but we'll talk about that later. Let's talk about the stuff that black people did. And I understand why they want to promote their culture, because that gives them a sense of superiority, but also we internalize their superiority as well. If you don't know anything about who you are, our history was a race, and that was on purpose, because if you don't know where you came from, then it's hard to have a direction on where you're going. Most Americans at 64% say it is very or somewhat important for companies and organizations to promote racial and ethnic diversity. This is down from 75% in 2019. 40% of Republicans say it is important. I want you to please understand this now. I'm trying to define these political parties by their sentiment about diversity. At the same time, the country is getting more diverse. The more diverse the country is getting, the more racist white Republicans are also getting. And that is guiding their political behavior. I'm going to give another example that should be painfully obvious, but it's not. Let me finish this statistic, and then it's going to make the next thing I'm going to say much more elucidated. Most Americans at 64%, meaning 36%, say it is not important for companies and organizations to promote racial and ethnic diversity. That's down from 75% in 2019, largely because of changing views amongst one political party, and that's Republicans. Allow me to continue. 40% of Republicans now say it is important, down from 61%. So I'm going to conceptualize this. And 61% is low. So 61% of Republicans in 2019 said that it is at least very or somewhat important for companies and organizations to promote racial and ethnic diversity. For a Republican, 61% ain't that bad. But now it's 40%. 87% of Democrats now say it is important for companies to promote racial and ethnic diversity. Only 40% of Republicans, so the majority, 60% of Republicans, think it's bad to promote diversity and ethnicity. In fact, they are so against it. And Trump is too, because one of his promises he did keep was eliminating affirmative action and DEI. And he is so following that script that the people that are voting for Republicans, where only 40% of them think it is important, 60% of Republicans think racial and ethnic diversity is bad to promote. They will accept Donald Trump's pedophilia. Because he hates racial and ethnic diversity. Look at how far he is going with his immigration policy. That speaks for itself. Even if some of them are citizens, if you look like you're not white, you're going to get swept up too. Even if you have the right to be in this country. Here's what's crazy. Some people were invited to come to this country. The number of people from Afghanistan that helped American soldiers, they basically should get veterans benefits. So should our Hmong brothers and sisters, because they helped American GIs in the Vietnam War. And they were granted permanent visas and resident status here in the United States. In Minnesota, they were rounding up Hmong citizens and they were detaining them and trying to deport them. These folks have been here 50 years, helped American soldiers in the Vietnam War, another war that we lost. About a week ago, an American national from Afghanistan who was granted permanent residence in the United States because he helped translate on behalf of American soldiers and fought with American soldiers in the war in Afghanistan. ICE detained him. They didn't allow him to provide the details of his status of being safe here in America, and he died in their custody, and the autopsy, they still haven't released it. I think they killed him. This is a guy that was invited to come to America because had he stayed in Afghanistan, knowing that he helped Americans, the Taliban would have executed him. So we invited him here, and guess what? Now America executed him. So the immigration policy goes too far. Donald Trump's connection with Jeffrey Epstein. So when people were going to, it's insane that they will accept the molestation and raping of children because Donald Trump hates diversity just like they do. Now you know who you're dealing with. And if you are an African American and you subscribe to that political party, I ain't got nothing for you. Okay? Just know what you're doing, know what you are agreeing with, and know who you are becoming kinfolk with. A party that will accept and overlook pedophilia because the pedophiles hate black people as much as the other white people do. Oh, well, he had to touch a couple of kids, but at least he's going to kick the Mexicans out of the country. If that's not a warped sense of understanding, I do not know what is. Americans are divided on whether efforts to promote diversity result in a fairer society. 42% of adults say efforts in workplaces and schools have made society more fair. A smaller share at 32% say they've made society less fair. And 25% say diversity efforts have made no difference. There are wide political gaps on this question. 65% of Democrats say that these efforts have made society more fair. Only 18% of Republicans say diversity efforts have made the country more fair. 57% of Republicans say these efforts have made society less fair, compared with only 9% of Democrats. The word don't has been redacted from the Epstein files. And people couldn't figure it out because they'd be reading a sentence. It could be somebody's testimony, or it could be a conversation that was recorded, or somebody was writing something down. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the millions of pages of the Epstein files. But the fact that the word don't was redacted, because they used some like automated system. So they put in certain words that they want to redact it. Trump, probably other, high-profile, wealthy people's names, but they couldn't figure out. Just recently, we found out why the word "don't," because it could be a sentence that didn't reference any sexual abuse or any human trafficking, but the word "don't" was redacted, and you can tell it was the word "don't" because of the context of that particular sentence. Get this: Don T. The algorithm that they used to redact Donald Trump's name also removed "don't," because if someone referenced Donald Trump as Don T, it redacted it, but also saw the contraction word of do not, don't, as also Don T. He is in the Epstein files so much that they removed any semblance of Donald Trump, Don T, to where the word "don't" does not appear in the Epstein files, because he's mentioned so much that they thought anybody referring to the string of 4 letters D-O-N-T might mean Don T. Isn't that wild? And he beat Kamala Harris. I don't know, maybe he didn't, maybe he cheated. Also come to find out that it was a strategy devised by Russian intelligence. If you ever thought there was some connection between Donald Trump and Russia, and some of you don't think there is. But Viktor Orban, who is the president of Hungary, who is also an authoritarian and an ally of Vladimir Putin, he's losing in the polls, and he has an election coming up. And Russian intelligence had devised a plan to get Viktor Orban reelected by faking an assassination attempt, because Russian intelligence has stated that if a country is not doing well fiscally and economically, if poverty is going up and inflation is hurting people, when you fake an assassination attempt, even of a losing candidate, then the whole election and the campaign becomes an emotional issue and not a practical economic quality of life issue. Now, Russian intelligence did not carry out the fake assassination attempt, but they had planned it to help Viktor Orban. I wonder where else an assassination attempt or has been committed or faked to help a candidate that may potentially lose a presidential election. I think it is also lost on a lot of us that if Trump didn't get reelected in 2024, he would be under the jail, because all the prosecutions would be allowed to continue, because if you are not president, you do not have the protections and immunities that a president has. He had to get reelected. He had to. And he couldn't, and I don't blame him, though. Now, he should have let the election play out fairly, which why would he? If you have to get elected, you can't leave it up to the voters. You know, voters are extremely hard to trust. One commonality in my entire career, no matter where I worked, including right now, is my interactions with voters and trying to understand their psychology. Voters are liars. They 100% are. They'll lie directly to your face. Candidate that they won't vote for will come and knock on their door, and we're always so nice. Very rarely does a voter say, I hate you, I'm not voting for you, you're a jerk. If somebody comes and knocks on my door and it's a candidate I'm not supporting, I still, hey, how are you? I thank them for coming to my door. I accept their little bit of literature that they give me. Now, I may use the literature for kindling, or I might use it as a coaster to protect my hardwood tables. But I'm always very nice to them. Voters will be very, very nice and then go into that booth and lie like a rug. Whole bunch of white women are like, yes, you go, Kamala. Yay, girl power. We're going to get a woman president. Went into that voting booth and called her an N-word before they connected the arrow to Donald Trump's name. Guarantee it, because voters are liars. Donald Trump can't trust voters. So why not fake an assassination attempt? Now, of course, I have no evidence that his assassination attempt was faked. But if Russian intelligence has that in their arsenal of how they can get candidates who are allied and close to Vladimir Putin elected if they are losing, an assassination attempt is something that's in the repertoire. I'm not saying that the additional camera angles that you can view of Donald Trump's assassination attempt, because he went down, there was a scuffle and a kerfuffle, and you heard some conversation. Then you heard Donald Trump say, wait a minute. And then he stood up and yelled, fight, while that blood was coming from his ear. The whole, like a 223, I don't think you guys know about a 223 round. It should have blown off the whole side of his face. But it just, bloop, just pierced his ear, just like a little, probably wears an earring in his ear now.
I thought that was the glass that hit him from his prompter.
Well, it was, whatever it was fake. And glass wouldn't have had the blood splatter pattern was not consistent with a piece of glass. And why the glass only hit his ear? Not his cheek, not his chin, not his head, not his neck, not his shoulder, right? Glass kind of shatters in a random kind of pattern. But it is what it is. And I'm not saying that the assassination attempt was fake. I know this much. If I was president of the United States, I'm going to say this and I got to go to break. And Al's on line one. Al, listen, I know sometimes when I get hyped up, you get hyped up too now. But Al, you hold on now. Let's not talk about certain bodily fluids and functions now, Al. I know you're going to be hyped up. But if I ran for president, which, no thanks, and I got shot, if there was an assassination attempt on my life, I would never shut up about it. Every time I got in front of a microphone, my fellow Americans, thank you for joining me on this press conference. Just so you know, as your president, I almost got murdered getting elected to serve you. My fellow Americans, I was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania in my ear. Here, look at the scar. And Donald Trump is the kind of person that brags on stuff. But he don't even mention, does he? If I didn't bring it up to you today, you probably would have forgot that Donald Trump had an assassination attempt. Nobody talks about it. That's because I don't...
He might have forgot about it.
I can't, you think you forget getting a shot? Come on.
He has Alzheimer's, I think.
Oh, you sound like one of them. I think he knows very well that it was fake, and he don't want to bring it up because the more he talks about it, the more investigation there will be. I don't have the evidence, but I just don't feel like it was real because you don't hear it being talked about. A president getting shot, when Reagan got shot in, 81, it was in the news for years. Now, he survived. Well, Trump did too. But it was the president. And we knew who the doctors were. The doctors gave press conferences. The doctors became famous that worked on Ronald Reagan. We don't even know who patched up Trump's ear. Think about that as a marketing trick. Hi, I'm John Smith, world-renowned plastic surgeon. I fixed Donald Trump's ear. If you were that doctor, you would want your name known, and the public would want to know who you are. Like, oh, snap, you saved the president's life, or you patched up the president. We don't even know what hospital that man went to. But I do know this much. Something did happen to his ear because he got shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. I think it was a Saturday. He was in Milwaukee either that Saturday evening, that Sunday, certainly by Monday, and he stayed at the Pfister, right? When the president stays at a hotel, very few people, when I say very few people, one person has personal access. They vet one person to allow that person to change the president's bed sheets, give him new towels, bring him drinks, water. Only one person is allowed to do. They don't have a whole bunch of people, and there's a designated person. I happen to know the designee that had access to Donald Trump's room after the assassination attempt. They changed the pillowcases, and the pillowcases had to be changed frequently because they were, in fact, bleeding. So something happened to his ear. We just don't know what the hell it was because there were, in fact, bloody pillowcases. I'm going to pause there, come back, talk to Al on the other side. Al, I'm going to need you to be at a PG-13 now. Talk to him on the other side. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. Will be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Truth Nation, it's your boy Tory Lowe, and I need to let you know the award-winning Tory Lowe Show can now be streamed live on YouTube. How? Every day from 1 to 4. Truth Nation, I am now bringing all the smoke on YouTube every single weekday. Hey, how? I need you to go to YouTube right now and subscribe to 1017 The Truth and check out the award-winning Tory Lowe Show live every afternoon. Milwaukee Black Talk is now streaming live on YouTube. Now that's powerful.
How much does it cost to talk to Gruber Law Offices after a serious crash? It's free. Yes, free. As in it won't cost you anything to speak with us. Not sure if you have a case? Call our team at Gruber Law Offices today. Your first call and your first consultation are always free. And you'll never pay us a fee until we win your case. If you've been seriously injured, call Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Life's better with American Family Insurance because we know you love working weekends. If it means working on your dream home, both inside and out. And we're here to help protect those dreams so you can enjoy peace of mind. Save up to 40% when you bundle home and auto. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products, pricing, and availability vary based on the way you purchase insurance and by state. Some exclusions apply. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
As the White House threatens to take over state elections, restrict abortion nationwide, and take away our health care, the Wisconsin Supreme Court is the last line of defense for our rights. That's why the Supreme Court election on April 7th is so critical. The ACLU does not endorse or oppose candidates, but wants you to make an informed decision. When it comes to abortion rights, Maria Lazar supported overturning Roe v. Wade and is endorsed by groups that want to ban abortion. Chris Taylor voted against abortion bans and defended abortion rights while working with Planned Parenthood. And on the issue of voting rights in Wisconsin, Maria Lazar defended efforts to rig elections for one political party through extreme gerrymandering of congressional and legislative districts. Chris Taylor opposes rigging the system with extreme partisan gerrymandering. On April 7th, stand up for our rights. Paid for by American Civil Liberties Union, Incorporated.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Join me tomorrow at 11 a.m. for the Milwaukee Experience with me, Sherwin Hughes, presented by Visit Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a city that knows how to celebrate, where the calendar is packed with festivals and the plates are piled high with flavor, and lakefront sunrises set the stage for unforgettable days. The Milwaukee Experience every Friday at 11 a.m. exclusively on The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, presented by Visit Milwaukee. Talk about some of the wonderful and fun things there are to do in our city. You guys know I love a good restaurant and a nice, relaxed, sophisticated atmosphere. For me, it is a leisure activity, and I don't mind spending a little bit of money to get top-tier service and food quality and all of those things. I mean, you can go get yourself a McDouble, and there's a time and a place to go get a McDouble, or a fillet of fish. But we have so many wonderful offerings and amenities in this city, and I try and shed light on them. And actually, they need our support more than ever because we have so many incredible, culturally relevant restaurants and all these other establishments that are they're fledgling these days because people's going out behaviors have changed dramatically. So let's try and preserve some of the things that make Milwaukee unique and special. And some of our attractions. Let's talk to another unique attraction in Milwaukee. Hello, Al. How are you doing today?
Hey. And I hope I'm doing wonderful, and I hope everybody is doing good. First thing I want to say, I wouldn't be trying to persuade no black Republican. That's a lost cause. I would just let them rot, and they will have to find that out on their own when it comes to life. Number two, when it comes to black people, they're going to have to go against the grain and create their own formula and become recession-proof, because every formula that the white man makes is not going to always work for you. So you have to find out on how you can become recession-proof. Now, I know you brought up the replacement theory. If the white woman don't want to have the white man's baby, that's something within their culture that they have to deal with. You know, nobody else got issues with that. That's within their culture. But when you brought up diversity, first thing that comes to my mind is conservative whites and Jews. But my thing for the conservative white people, if you're so against diversity, why do you come in second class to Jews? You're supposed to be pure, and the Jews are converted European, and you're still at the bottom of the barrel. And then my thing is when it comes to the Jews don't never really speak out when it comes to black issues. And I've been trying to do my own research, but if I'm not mistaken, and please educate me on this, didn't the Jews break the treaty when it came to Palestine? Because they said from history everywhere the Jews went, they got kicked out of. But yet when you call them on their stuff, they always claiming anti-Semitic. But when you look at where they are today, you know, they're either wearing out the welfare system, they portraying themselves as they so self-righteous, but then a lot of people say they're cheap and money hungry, and they are for them, but they don't get no smoke, but they're against black people. And then the conservative is against black people, but the conservative is supposed to be so smart and so great, and they're treated like bottom feeders, like shrimp. The roaches of the ocean floor. What is your take on that?
I love shrimp. That's my take on it, Al. I think shrimp. In fact, I just had some shrimp yesterday. I think you're not supposed to eat a lot of them because they're high in cholesterol. But I like. Al, don't make me answer that because I'm not getting.
Well, you're not being anti-Semitic, but the thing is, for the conservative whites, if they are about power, why is it that the conservative Europeans, which is the Jews, have more power than them? Because if they're about power and somebody from another country who's a converted European got more power over a conservative white, you're not that smart. You're actually dumb. You're real dumb. But you're supposed to be pure white supremacy. Your pure white supremacy is not that good if a converted European got more power than you.
Maybe we should ask one of them. We'll ask one of those converted Europeans.
Well, how about what? I would like to hear from, like, maybe, I know you got a couple of frequent callers who are diehard conservatives. Maybe they can call in. Because, when you look at the converted Europeans, they're laughing all the way to the bank, and they're the new minorities. Yet, the conservatives over here, their kin folks is losing jobs, losing health insurance. They're losing all their sugar, honey, iced tea. But them converted Europeans ain't losing nothing. But yet, you're against all this diversity, and you're still second class to converted Europeans.
That's an interesting point, Al. And a point well
taken.
So
I'll just hang up and listen.
All right.
All right, y'all have yourself a good day.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Maybe Alan can call in and give his opinion.
Now, Alan is a weird anomaly because he likes Trump for specific reasons, but he also loves me, loves my show, and has a black wife, so he's not credible on... Like, those kind of people that Alan's referring to, they would never call the show because they wouldn't want anyone to know that they listen to it. And they also don't want to... Why should they have to explain themselves to us? But also, if the tables were turned, if a black person... I shouldn't say if. Black people own stuff. We're business owners. We own big companies, small companies, medium-sized companies. You think a black person looks out over their workforce? And it depends on what kind of business they have. But do you think they look out over their workforce and say, wow, we really need a bunch more white people here? It just doesn't feel diverse enough. Do you really think that? If a black company that knows and understands the struggle of black people and they have the ability to provide talented African Americans with high-level positions at their company, do you ever think that they'll say, you know what? We have too many blacks here. Sure wish I could find some Aleutian Islanders to diversify the place up a little bit. Nope. Because I don't blame white people. And I'm not, when I say what I say, I'm not trying to get white people to go against their own. They're going to do that naturally because that's what their history is. White people have been killing and murdering each other since before they even knew about us. But I'm explaining and demystifying why America looks the way it looks currently. But do I expect white people to say, you know what? It's time we stop hiring our own. Because eventually, a company that, let's say it started out as white, and it has moved to mimic the diversity of that city or that town, and let's say the town started out as 100% white, and now it's 15% white. And if that company hires based on the demographic shifts of that town, the company is not the same anymore. And I know that there's some universal principles in business, but I can say this with unabashed clarity. If you don't have a cultural and historical understanding of black people, then you will not understand our participation and our productivity in the workforce. You won't. You're going to try and strip that away and just say, no, this is how we work, this is how we operate, this is what the culture is. And they have no understanding that the culture of how they work and how they operate at this particular company is based upon whiteness. It's devoid of diversity. It's devoid of the creativity that you have to be open to when you diversify the ranks of your company. Now, smart managers do this. They know that as diversity grows in the city and diversity grows in a market, they are better served and will make more profit if they have people in the ranks of that company that know and deeply understand the sentiments of diverse audiences and diverse populations. There's probably a period of time where Coca-Cola only sold Coca-Cola to white people. But then as cities and towns got more diverse and more African Americans entered into the workforce and we had Coca-Cola money, then Coca-Cola had to start advertising in a much more diverse way. That's why they got polar bears. Wait a minute, those are still white. What am I supposed to be looking at? What's in the YouTube chat? Somebody said white supremacy is a fantasy. I mean, kind of. Where, in which way are they supreme? If you had to steal to get your supremacy, that's like being like the best bank robber. You know? It's like, yeah, you might be a great bank robber, but you're committing a crime to be the best. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I'm Sherwin Hughes, and I know the power of Stars and Stripes Honor Flight firsthand. As someone who's been on an honor flight, I can tell you it's a day you'll never forget. Stars and Stripes Honor Flight gives our oldest veterans who served in any location in June of 1975 or earlier a free one-day trip to Washington, D.C. for veterans. Airfare, meals, a coach bus tour, and special flight apparel are all included. It's a day of honor, gratitude, and camaraderie. Veterans who served in the Vietnam or Korean War go to flySSHF.org and ask for an application.
Walk in for a suit, walk out with two. It's buy one, get one half off throughout March at Nick Avani's. Suits, blazers, hats, jeans, and more. Everything you need from a hands-on team that styles you from head to toe. Find a suit, add shoes for half the price. Land a perfect two-piece set? Now add a vest for 50% less. Prom, weddings, galas, whatever's on your calendar, now's the time to stop in to Nick Avani's. Second floor at Mayfair Mall across from AMC. Buy one, get one half off throughout March at Nick Avani's. Some exclusions may apply. See store for details.
Breaking down the issues that shape our city and our future.
If oil gets to $90 a barrel, I'll be able to pay off my house. I think war is awful. It's terrible. It doesn't resolve things. It creates long-lasting hatred and even more conflict that the American people are always going to find themselves involved in.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, weekdays from 9 to noon.
But if I don't have a mortgage, you know what I mean? You take the good with the bad. Didn't Donald Trump say he was going to end the wars? You can't have America first if you're involved in all these foreign wars. And there's people that believed him when he said that. He doesn't like wars. He said it many times. Said it on the campaign trail.
Catch it live on YouTube or tune in to 1017 The Truth.
He's bombed just as much in his first year as any warmongering hawk president we've ever seen since World War II.
Listen to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, weekdays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
There are many times I thought, I can't do this. I mean, what parent isn't worried about? What am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough? And then I realized, wait, that's being a parent.
Don't worry about being perfect. I've had around 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
The greatest reward for me is he makes me better every day.
I would tell a family considering adopting a teenager that teenager, whoever it is, needs you, and they need what you have to offer.
Taylor's given me hope. He's our son, and that is what he will always be.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Analysis Live, one of the biggest nights in Wisconsin sports, and we don't want anyone to miss out. You buy one ticket, and ESPN Wisconsin is going to buy the other. Be there for the night that will have everyone talking on March 27th. Analysis Live is a completely unpredictable show with Thanasis Antetokounmpo and surprise guests. Where were you when Stephen A. Smith joined, or when Bobby Portis brought down the house? Where were you sitting when Giannis walked on stage? Thanasis Live is can't miss. TALiveshow.com is where you can get your tickets, and then at checkout, you're going to enter ESPNWIBOGO. Buy one, get one free for Thanasis Live on March 27th at the Riverside Theater. TALiveshow.com. All right, go get your tickets. Go see Thanasis. And even though they already told us who the surprise guest is going to be, it's going to be Ric Flair.
It's literally on the promo poster.
Majorities across racial and ethnic groups say a diverse U.S. population is a good thing for the country overall and has a positive impact on culture, but the share of Republicans that say that sentiment is going down. 65% of Democrats say that efforts to promote diversity has made society more fair. Only 18% of Republicans say that efforts to promote diversity has made the country more fair. 64% of Americans say it is very or somewhat important for companies and organizations to promote racial and ethnic diversity. That's down from 75% in 2019, largely because of changing views amongst Republicans. Only 40% of Republicans say it is important for companies and organizations to promote racial and ethnic diversity, and that's down from 61%. That's a huge shift in 7 years. Only 40% of Republicans say it is somewhat or very important for companies and organizations to promote racial diversity. Used to be 61%, now it's only 40%. Contrastingly, 87% of Democrats now say this is important, as did 86% in 2019. So the number of Democrats that say racial and ethnic diversity promotion is important has actually gone up from 86 to 87%. The number of Republicans that say it is somewhat or very important for companies and organizations to promote racial and ethnic diversity has gone down by 21%. They're getting more racist. Earlier in the program, I tried to assign some causality to just what is happening in the world. And it is the changing demographics of America. As we are celebrating our 250th year as a country, the natural changing demographics is shifting the Republican Party's hatred faster than any other apparatus in this nation. In July, the United States will celebrate its 250th anniversary. The country's last major milestone was 50 years ago, and that was the bicentennial on July 4th, 1976. U.S. society has changed profoundly since then. Over the past 5 decades, the U.S. population has aged significantly, with the percentage of people 65 and older nearly doubling. The country has also become more racially and ethnically diverse, as growing shares of people identify as Asian or Hispanic. And following more than 70 million immigrant arrivals in the last 50 years, the percentage of foreign-born people in the population has tripled. Americans are also less likely to be married than ever before. Women now have far more options outside of the home than they did in 1976. Women have contributed to a boom in higher education and helped expand the workforce since 1976. And even though many Americans are financially better off than they were 50 years ago, economic gaps have actually widened. Ahead of the nation's 250th birthday on July 4th, 2026, the Pew Research Center identified some prominent trends across key areas of American life: demographics, work, family, and economics. Their 50-year comparisons are based on U.S. Census Bureau data collected from 1970 through 2024. The U.S. population has grown by more than 120 million people. That's a lot. Holy smoke. And 50, no, that can't be right. No. Maybe that is right. The U.S. population has grown by more than 120 million people to a total of nearly 340 million over the past 50 years. Holy smokes, that is a lot. That's not, well, there's a baby boom. I don't know if Generation X was a baby boom. A lot of immigrants, I guess, came over. Much of that growth was driven by, immigrants, longer lifespans, as well as Asian and Hispanic Americans. Geographically, there has been a significant movement of people to the southern and western states. Since 1970, the share of Americans aged 65 and older has nearly doubled from 10% to 18%. The median age rose across racial and ethnic groups, but white Americans and black Americans saw the sharpest increases. I'm going to take a break, come back, continue discussing some of these major changes and shifts in America over the last 50 years as the country is about to turn 250 on July 4th, 2026. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. Will be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I travel all around the world, Dr. Ken, and when I tell you, based on my experiences, this is like the number one country that cares. Like everything is about money.
Yep.
Everything.
This is The Truth Unfiltered with Denise Thomas and Dr. Ken Harris.
I've told people in the past, you have to be careful of what you complain about and what you use as a tool because other people will take it and use it in the wrong way.
Sundays starting at 7 on 620 WTMJ and Mondays at 6 on 1017 The Truth.
Hi, this is Sherwin Hughes from 1017 The Truth, and I want to talk to you about something bigger than just buying a house. I'm talking about building a legacy. Owning a home isn't just about four walls and a roof. It's about giving your kids a place where memories are made, where birthdays are celebrated, and where they always belong. It's about planting roots, knowing your neighbors, waving from the porch, and being a part of a community that feels like family. If you've been renting and wondering if home ownership is even possible, Axe Housing is here to work with you. An Axe Housing coach will help you create a plan, a budget, and move step by step toward owning a place you can truly call your own. They've already helped over 4,000 families become homeowners, and many are paying less than they were paying for rent. Don't let where you are today stop your families tomorrow. Start your journey at axehousing.org. That is ACTShousing.org. Your legacy begins at home.
Hey, Truth Nation, it's your girl DT. You want to mark your calendar. Saturday, March 28th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Cream City and Milwaukee chapters of the Links Incorporated present the Black Family Wellness Expo at Evolve Church. Free health screenings, mental health resources, nutrition and wellness education, family-friendly activities, trusted community providers, no cost, walk-ins are welcome. Let's strengthen and sustain healthy Black families together. March 28th, Evolve Church. Be there.
Every child deserves a school that sees their brilliance. At Milwaukee College Prep, they believe in high expectations, strong character, and academic excellence starting as early as age of 3. MCP scholars continue to outperform their peers across Milwaukee. And the best part about it all, Milwaukee College Prep is tuition free. If you're looking for a school that partners with you, challenges your child, and prepares them for college and beyond, Milwaukee College Prep is the place. Visit MilwaukeeCollegePrep.com to learn more. That's MilwaukeeCollegePrep.com.
Life's better with Drive My Way from American Family Insurance because we know it's more than just a car. It's your escape pod, your adventure mobile, your memory maker. And we help protect the dreams that drive you. Personalize what you pay for auto insurance and you could save between 10 and 35%. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products, pricing, and availability vary based on the way you purchase insurance and by state. Unsafe driving behaviors may increase your rate. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Can be a lonely place when you're just a name without a face. You can disappear without a trace and be gone.
And I've been jamming like
Reggio says, the gracious, kind, loving, all-inclusive Somalian guys fed me for lunch Wednesday. Oh, boy. The goat was cooked to perfection. I can't eat no goat. I can't. I don't know why. I'll eat a lamb, but I can't eat a goat.
What's the difference?
How I feel about goats. That's the only difference.
How do you feel about goats?
They're gross. Pigs are worse, but bacon is delicious. Pigs are horrible, but bacon just sets it off. You know what I mean? Bacon is just crispy and crunchy. It's a good little snack.
I like bacon on my burgers.
Somebody just put some bacon in front of me right now. I would eat it, or I'd get some lettuce and tomato and some toasted bread, make a BLT, get a little mayo.
Top notch.
Ain't they though? Let's see. PG-13 says Mao. I'm not a kid, Sherwin. Express yourself, Al. That is your constitutional right. No, stop it with that. No, it ain't. These airwaves are monitored and restricted and censored. Freedom of speech don't mean you can say anything you want all the time with no consequence. Oh, you think so? Go tell your boss to kiss your ass and say you got freedom of speech. And you can tell your boss to kiss your ass, but you're going to get fired. You can't be like, you can't fire me. I have freedom of speech. You got freedom to get your ass out of here. Yesterday, Al went ham. He went hard in the paint yesterday. I know sometimes when I get a little worked up, Al takes that as his opportunity. Well, I'm going to get worked up too. Talk about these Republicans. Who said Donald Trump is an actor? Carmen said that. I mean, kind of. But all presidents, they occupy the executive institution. We vote for a person because we like them. Like, oh, we like this person. We like what they say. We like their style, whatever. We like what they're selling us. But there are some things in the institution that have to remain constant. And so I think we kind of get caught up in that. I'm okay not voting for someone that I like. Because I may like a candidate, but they're going to lose. And I'm not helping move anything for them. Oh, wow, this person is really nice. They deserve a shot. Brett Hulsey, he's a candidate running for governor in Wisconsin. Exactly. You don't know who the hell he is. He's a really nice guy, but he can't win. And you have to be careful in these days and times, because if you are not putting your political strength, meaning your vote, behind a candidate that has a higher likelihood of success, not just for them winning, but success for the people of Wisconsin or the people of this country, then you are strengthening your very own opposition. Oh, I like so-and-so. They're really nice. I think I'm going to vote for them. Some of y'all might vote for me, which I would never discourage. But if I'm not a candidate for governor, I probably can't win. So someone that's voting for Tom Tiffany just had their vote strengthened by your vote for me. I mean, I'll let you know if I decide to run for governor. Problem is, I might win. And then, can a governor get impeached?
Yes.
Yeah. I'd have to have a Democratic majority in the Senate and in the Assembly, because then I could just kind of do whatever I wanted. I just give a bunch of money away to people. Like, you get a contract, you get a contract, you get a contract. What's other people saying here? Linda wants to know, Sherwin, where do Jewish people work? Where do Jewish people work? Do they? Where does their income come from? Linda, where do black people work? Where's our income come from? Where do Asian people work? Everywhere. Not entirely everywhere, but I don't know about the Jewish people.
Why are they obsessed?
I don't know. I think I know why, but I know better than that.
Al struck a chord, I think.
I think we've always had curiosities, because they used to be some of the most pronounced fighters for civil rights during the civil rights movement, and then all of a sudden, poof, they, like when those 3 civil rights workers were murdered, 2 of them were Jewish. A lot of Jewish people, after World War II, they're like, oh, we're going to help the blacks because oppression sucks. Because a lot of Jewish people came over here from everywhere after World War II, because Europe was just a bit of a mess. You know what I mean? And so America, we welcomed a lot of people after World War II. Well, in fact, if it wasn't for a Jewish scientist, we would not have been first to get the atomic bomb. So a very famous Jewish scientist man, very smart fellow, had very bad hair, but really smart. He came over to America. He's like, I'm going to help you guys build a really big firecracker, because hopefully this gigantic firecracker will end the war, and then we're going to drop it on Japan. So people are wondering, like, why Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. It was weird, though, because we shouldn't have had our whole Pacific Fleet. There was some stuff that went on. I got to talk about that, too, because I come to realize that most people that listen to my show don't have accurate understandings of history. So we put our whole Pacific Fleet, or like most of it, it all shouldn't have been in one place, because if a foreign nation bombs it, they destroy a lot of our war power, right? But we had all of our big boats in Pearl Harbor for some unknown reason. we actually had an oil embargo. So Japan needed oil to continue the war effort, but the United States had an oil embargo on Japan. So we forced Japan to bomb us because we needed an excuse to get into the war. So American people did not want to get into the war at all. They didn't care what Europe did. They did not give two hoots. It was an interesting, ideological split because you're only in your second generation, maybe even your first generation after Ellis Island, where a lot of those white Europeans, where the countries that they came from, were being ravaged by Nazi Germany, Poland in particular. But then Americans, who may have been, as an example, of Austrian descent or Polish descent, did not want America to fight on behalf of those European countries, even though we had the vast majority of people that were of European descent that had immigrated in the previous decades from Ellis Island. But they did not want America to get into the war, to fight for the countries in which they came from. And I think FDR wanted to get into the war, but he also listened to public sentiment. So they said, well, let's put an oil embargo on Japan, put a whole bunch of our boats and our Pacific Fleet in Pearl Harbor so it's easier for Japan to bomb them. The American people will be so angry and so incredibly outraged that will give us permission to enter the war. But that was also a very different time because Americans paid for that war. We rationed our food. They had these things called victory gardens where we had to grow our own food because the majority of what we produced at the time went to the war effort. We don't do that anymore. In fact, I would argue that why interest rates are so high and why everything is getting so much more expensive is because we are paying for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Because keep in mind, when Bush was president, we lowered taxes for people during a war. You don't ever do that. During World War II, we paid for that war as we went. They sold war bonds. People grew their own food. We had to sacrifice for that war. We don't do that anymore. We raise taxes on the American people to pay for the war. Now we lower taxes, and what happens is our deficit grows, everything gets more expensive, and we further squeeze the working class of people because nobody would agree with growing their own food and having to buy war bonds and having to be taxed to pay for a foreign war. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.
In 1987, the Bucks took on the world and changed basketball forever.
At stake, basketball supremacy in the United States.
Bucks versus the World, narrated by Charlie Behrens, is the new season of Behind the Bucks podcast, presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. It's the untold story of the 1987 McDonald's Open, when the Bucks became the first NBA team to face the Soviet Union. Listen now on Bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and wherever you get podcasts.